That's right. Greetings, fellow armchair Imagineers. Tiki here,
And Blue Dragon 5.
and welcome to the show where we wax poetic about the movies we see on a month to month basis. It's time to crack open our, say it with us, Eli, movie
Movie
memoirs.
Memoirs!
Right on time, little blue. Right on time. All right. All right, Dragon. We have got a very busy month. It was the first. May happen, but I feel like this month we really kind of kicked into high gear with the summer movies. So a lot to break down this evening. Let's start, as always, with the news. And unfortunately, folks, we do have to start with. We always start with the deaths, but this one got me, man. This one got me a lot.
I think technically all the deaths should get you, but
You know what I mean, though, with this particular one. I mean, come on now, come on. I mean, yes, all deaths are sad, but this one was just a gut shot. So, folks, at the beginning of the month, I'm sure most of you are probably aware, we lost the great Jonathan Joss, who is most well known. I know he also had a big role on Community, but of course, he's most well known as John Redcorn on King of the Hill. And Dragon, I swear to God, like I just the timing of it. I don't even want to repeat what actually happened to him. Let's just say it was terrible. It was done in hate. It was done out of prejudice. It was done right at the start of Pride Month. If you want details, look it up. But it sickened me, Dragon, and it also kind of sort of got me off my feet. And I know a lot of people in the community that did a lot more for Pride this month than I did, but I tried to do as much as I could given my social battery. And what happened with Jonathan Joss was kind of the main thing that sparked that. So yeah, very like I said, Dre, it's a senseless loss, but it's just like the way that it went down, how it went down, the timing of it, just all of it is just kind of disgusting to me. What do you think, sir?
well, first of all, it's Parks and Rec, not Community.
Oh, I'm sorry. My bad. Thank you.
So, so Jonathan Joss, talented Native American actor. Of course, famously, John Redcorn. We can't say the whole time because the first actor who played John Redcorn also passed away. But so he was basically the definitive John Redcorn from season 2 to basically, from what I understand, probably at least the first season of this revival coming out. He's also, he very much played a lot of great, just kind of like Native American characters that would kind of pop up here and there. Like again, there's a character on Parks and Rec, which again, I'd seen Parks and Rec, but I binged it one time, and usually I'd just go back for the Andy or the Ron Swanson kind of gigs. But he was. I know him from some of his voice work elsewhere. He was. We talked about one of the things he popped up in JLU. He was in the western part of
Sure,
Once and Future Thing. He was Oaisha Smith. He was the Native American sheriff character, Powwow Smith in the comics, which of course they kind of updated. Yes, and that was the whole thing there. He was like the cool Native American sheriff character who got run out of town, and he came back with the Justice, Batman, Wonder Woman, and Green Lantern.
I'm sure back in the 50s that was a very empowering name to give a character.
Yeah.
All right.
Because he wanted to powwow around with, Also, so the last thing he did, not counting the new King of the Hill stuff, which we haven't seen yet. I think the presumption is that he's going to be in it. I mean, that he was doing like press for a little bit of press here and there for King of the Hill. So he was in Tulsa King. He was, we had some Native American. Basically, I don't know if he was in for both for the first 2 seasons or just the second season, because we really dived in deep with the Native American characters in season 2 of Tulsa King. But yeah, he was there.
Nice.
Anyway, so let's see. Of course, it's a tragic fate that having the Jonathan Joss. Very, I know it's not exactly the same circumstances with the pride of it all. It's, very kind of Matt Shepard-esque in terms of the tragedy of it all,
Mm-hmm.
But just ultimately a victim of intolerance, a house fire, just, a loss of some pets. And then, of course, the thing we should just mention is that, from what I understand from the first-hand account, he saved his partner from a fatal bullet. That was,
Absolutely.
very
Yeah.
he died very heroically. So we gotta give Jonathan Joss major
I
props
mean, it's
there.
a
I mean, he
shame.
was
I mean, it's, that's kind of like, I'm sure his partner would, it's, it's bitter. I don't even know the word for it, Dragon. Like, yes, it's
well, there are
great.
no words.
It's great that he died a hero, but man, what happened simply should not have happened, just point blank. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
So he'll for sure be missed. I mean, of course, John Redcorn was always like a great source of not only he played such a great complicated character,
Well, what I
John
like about
Redcorn,
John
because he
Redcorn as
was
a character is just always that you know, he could have that character could have so easily just been a jerk, and he
yeah.
was not at all. He was very layered, like you said. He was one of the most complex characters on the whole show, dare I say.
Yeah, I mean, look, I hate personally. I don't care for adultery and things. It just it kind of runs.
Colby agrees with you. I know Colby agrees with that statement.
There's always like there's always like a likability problem if you have like characters who would have affairs and everything. Mind you, one of my favorite characters of all time is wrapped up in an affair plot line, so I can't, I'm kind of stuck with it whether I like it or not. But the whole point, but even that character was like his whole thing was like he did this and he instantly regretted it, and it was like a whole anyway. The point being with John Redcorn, it was a thing where you're right. He very easily could have been just like, it could have been like the running gag, like, oh, look how stupid Dale is. But no, it added a great layer of complexity where, he couldn't help but, you couldn't help but like John Redcorn, feel for, him kind of being caught in a position where he's in love with a woman who clearly loves him back, but it's a very, again, it's like a soap opera that you can abide by in a sense. It was like the thing where everyone knows, but except Dale, but no one will say it because it'll just be heartbreaking and sad. But again, at the same time, this is a man whose son is being
You don't have
raised.
to apologize, Eli. It's fine. I mean,
This,
you gotta if you need to switch your time between different things, we're not going to judge you for that, bro. It's all good. Anyway, sorry, Dragon. Sorry. Go ahead.
Anyway, but yeah, you feel bad for him because like his son's being raised by kind of like essentially the idiot that kind of lucked out get to marry the woman that he loved.
Right,
And,
right.
see,
Yeah.
there's a lot of sympathy there, and like him with with Joseph, and a lot of times those are scenes that meant a lot, and there's a lot of impact in those scenes when John Redcorn was able to interact with his kids. So
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of a lot of fun stuff with Redcorn as well as the pathos driven stuff, which I hope the revival will kind of honor in that regard. So
All right. Okay, so Dragon, I'm going to let you take the lead on the next in memoriam.
Yeah. So I was so bummed out at the it seemed like Jonathan Joss, obviously tragedy, but it was like kind of at the top of the month, and you thought, okay, we got the worst out of the way. I mean, surely no one else is gonna keel over by the month's end, and think we're in the clear. And then I'd look, and it's like June 30th, Jim Shooter is dying. I'm like, dang it.
Yeah.
It's just I had met Jim Shooter, and I thought Jim Shooter was really cool. I mean, Jim Shooter was so he was one of the editors at Marvel. Editor who had done writing and a lot of the other. He'd worn a few hats, but essentially he was an editor. That was the big thing that he did. So he and Roy Thomas were very much Marvel in the 70s and 80s, like Jim Shooter was specifically late 70s and to like probably mid 80s.
Mm-hmm.
Essentially, this guy was a taskmaster, but kind of somewhat beloved. I mean, he was kind of like a taskmaster, and the guys, the writers and the bullpen were like, "Oh man, Shooter's got to let up on us." But Shooter got results. I mean, Shooter was very much kind of not as much as Stan Lee viewed himself as J. Jonah Jameson, but he, in a sense, Jim Shooter was kind of a J. Jonah Jameson, or maybe more accurately, in a weird flip flop, kind of a Perry White,
Right.
Because that's the thing. He got results. He pushed again. This is Marvel in kind of a bit of a complacent time in like the early part of the 70s. Again, Stan Lee's kind of like at this point he's not running the ship anymore. He's like Jim Shooter was the guy who came up with Secret Wars. That was him. Which again, essentially was like a marketing thing. Like we got to sell toys, which then he turns it into kind of this thing that was like bigger than that basically is now shaping the face the next phase of the MCU.
Mm-hmm.
Phase 6 of the MCU. So I mean, it definitely a lot going on there. And Secret Wars, of course, we get the black suit Spider-Man. So he paved the way for a lot of important stuff. And he had his flaws. He wasn't like professionally, wasn't a saint. He I don't want to get into it here, but he basically, the way a lot of the artists and writers at the time kind of talk about Jim Shooter is that they really needed a Jim Shooter to get them out of their funk and really kind of get them to reach for the stars like they did for Secret Wars. But after Secret Wars, which is a massive success, as far as like the toy sales and again like getting readership up and again giving us some iconic moments that show up not just in Endgame but again are kind of coming in the Secret Wars movie, I'm sure. He got a little big for his britches, He after Secret Wars, that was kind of the thing with Jim Shooter. Is at a certain point, he's like, okay, yeah, he's this guy's not letting up. He's letting the success get to his head a little bit. When I was able to meet him at a convention, he was gifted a film cell from Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends. It said it had like a little word bubble written on it that said like "Happy Birthday, Jim." It was very like Spider-Man or Iceman saying that to him. It was so precious. I took a picture of it. Everything was wonderful. It was. That's the thing. It was kind of like at the end of the day, it was kind of like more of at the end, it was like if it's not broke, don't. If it's not broke, don't fix it. He was one like kind of tinkering with everything when everything was kind of good for a while. Let's strive to try and change things up. Like maybe Jim, maybe let's bask in the success a little bit. Maybe let's not try as hard. So God bless the man. He was working till the end. See, as far as I could tell, he was a nice guy, and he did some solid, spectacular Spider-Man stuff. I want to say with Black Cat, but it was a staple in the comic of Marvel, one could say.
Mm-hmm. All right. Okay, so yeah, well said, Dragon. Well said. Thank you for that. Okay, so next up we have some news that's not death. So Denis Villeneuve is directing the next James Bond movie. Dragon, as you know, I'm not a big James Bond guy. I'm not a big action guy in general. So I gotta tell you, man, I'm of mixed minds of this. Does this make me more excited about the next James Bond movie? Absolutely. Does this make me less excited about the next Denis Villeneuve movie? Also, absolutely. I don't know. Honestly, I'm surprised that he got it and not Nolan, honestly. What do you think of this, Dragon?
Yeah, poor Nolan. I mean, I don't think honestly, I don't think
Nolan wanted to do was direct a fucking James Bond movie, Dragon.
Look, okay, first off, one, I don't think Nolan could if he wanted to. I don't know if Odyssey's in the can or not yet, but
did you hear that apparently we're gonna get an Odyssey trailer in front of Jurassic World, like in theaters this weekend?
Really?
That's the word on the street.
Well, I guess it's at least most of it's in. It's probably in the can at this point. Then, if he's,
I assume it's in the can. Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I mean, Nolan puts a lot into these movies. He probably needs a little bit of rest time. So I don't know. Honestly, I don't think he threw his hat in the ring for it. I don't get this. I get the sense that Nolan has tried to do a Bond movie, and that was Tenet, and it didn't go well. And he's kind of like, you know what, that was my shot. I don't want to bother with him more. They don't want to give me Bond. I will. I just they don't want to give it to me outright. I don't want to do it.
I mean, you're probably not wrong. That's probably partly how it went down.
It's honestly what I imagined. I imagine Nolan absolutely wanted to do Bond, but it just, after all these times, it wasn't given to him. He just tried doing it on his own. Just, regardless, Denis Villeneuve, great visualist of a director. So I'm sure it's going to look great. Will it be great? I don't have a lot of faith. Honestly, I don't have a lot of faith that it's going to be like the most like digestible, crowd pleasing Bond movie. I think like the movie guys, I think the diehard movie fans. I mean, it was an artistic experience of a Bond movie.
I mean, look, let's just call a spade here, Dragon. If anyone's going to be fucking doing that, I'm going to be.
I know that's what I'm talking about. That's it'll be a whole thing of like, you know what? I was never really.
I'm going to be the insufferable film Twitter crowd on this movie.
Exactly. You know what? I just want to hit the Bond hallmarks and make sure we get a good guy cast in the Bond role. It's mainly what I want. I want it to feel like I want to feel John Barry in a sense.
Right.
But yeah.
All right. So yeah, we'll see what happens there. I just want Villeneuve to make a new like crime thriller movie in the style of something like Sicario or Prisoners again, though.
That's what I'm saying. I want to see Villeneuve do another Prisoners would be great for
I
him.
really hope he hasn't lost the motivation to do movies like that after the Dune of it all.
Because after Prisoners, it was always just like, how can I make things look pretty? How can I make things look epic in scope and everything? It's like, okay, Villeneuve, it looks great, but can I get some story here? Can I get something that's not going to be boring and drag on for hours?
All right. So next up, we have Incredibles 3. It officially was announced that it's being directed by Pete Sohn. Now, look, Dragon, I like Pete Sohn. I like the story of Pete Sohn. I think Pete Sohn is a very rootable kind of like underdog within our Pixar directors, because he got handed a bad hand with with The Good Dinosaur, which is absolutely not his fault. That movie was in
That
development.
movie technically has like 3 directors. He's just the one that got named, so it's not
Right,
really on
right.
him.
And then Elemental is not my favorite Pixar movie by any means, but I do really, really like the personal stuff in that movie. The immigrant stuff in that movie is really good. That being said, Dragon, I just don't know about this. I mean, Dragon, did we know? Like, I kind of feel like it was just assumed that Brad Bird would be back on this. Like, did we? Is this kind of a blindside for us that Brad Bird's not directing?
Essentially, yes. So, okay, so let me put this
Like,
way.
I don't want to throw Pete Sohn under the bus. Like, I respect the man, but like, I'm sorry, but Pete Sohn is not Brad Bird.
Let me give you the Cliff Notes version of it, all right? Okay, long story short, in the behind the scenes on The Incredibles 2, and you can kind of tell this on the commentary. I think I've told you this like one time before. I mean, I got The Incredibles 2, Blu-ray, and I was very excited because, of course, Incredibles 1, amazing, embarrassment of riches in terms of like bonus features,
Oh yeah,
and
oh yeah.
including like 2 sets of commentaries, one with the animators and one with Brad Bird and John Walker. Not that John Walker, other John Walker.
It'd be funny if it was that John Walker.
You know what's funny that I don't know if he has the. No, it's actually different. I was thinking it was maybe the same middle initial, but no, I think it's John W. Walker is the one. Is the Pixar John Walker. Anyway, essentially, of course, very informative treasure trove. Incredibles 2. Brad Bird. If there's one commentary, this is a commentary with Brad Bird and animators, and basically it starts off Brad Bird saying, "Hello, Brad Bird here," and he basically, "I'm going to turn it over to the animators," and he leaves the commentary.
Oh man,
So
that is not a good omen at all.
the input from what we can glean from the behind the scenes, I mean, like the literal, like on the DVD and the Blu-ray and everything, is that essentially, and a little bit of like the other behind the scenes, essentially, Toy Story 4 and Incredibles 2 were kind of swapped production order wise. So Brad Bird felt he had more time. I know, yes, he had like 14. I get it. He had 14
time now.
Yeah. So look, I understand. Yes, Incredibles 2 had roughly a 14-year like development turnaround thing. Yes, but that was like Brad Bird doing other projects, so it's not really like 14 years thinking on Incredibles 2. He's like when he probably had he was expecting like a 4-year window to actually develop, and it got shrunk down to 2. He was never fully satisfied with. He never really got all the kinks out of the story. There's seemingly a lot of pressure to get Incredibles 2 out, which kind of shows. And it's so. I think reading between the lines, Brad Bird was never. It was always assumed he was going to do. Incredibles 3.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, we know right now he's working on Ray Gunn. Now I don't know if that's really getting in the way of Incredibles 3 or not. I don't know how much they're fast tracking Incredibles 3. That I don't know. But I don't know if it's just because of the experience he had in Incredibles 2, and maybe there are other things he wants to do. It's him. He's most likely going to produce it. I don't think it. I don't know if they've confirmed he's going to write it. I think it's assumed he's going to write it. If he writes it and Pete Sohn directs, I think that'll be really good for the movie. Pete Sohn did work on the original Incredibles, like the scene where Bob and Helen, the whole "I can't lose you again" scene. That's Pete Sohn who animated that scene.
True.
And so that's the thing. So Pete Sohn, I think, again, great. I think he's a great director. I think he's a great animator. Good story, man. I think he has all these qualities that make him an excellent director. I will say this: I think he can handle the familial aspect, the character subtleties very well. So I think he's going to be in. I think Incredibles is going to be in really good shape on that. However, I'd be lying if I said I would have been over the moon if they said we don't have Brad Bird, but instead Mark Andrews is going to direct us. Had they said Mark Andrews, I would have been bouncing off the walls excited. Like, this is the most perfect turnout we could have had.
Right.
Because he's the action guy. He's got that rapport. He was like the story man on Incredibles. So, unfortunately, it's not Mark Andrews. So, I mean, the action component of the movie, I don't know how Pete Sohn's going to do with action.
That's what I'm worried about too. Yeah, definitely.
But again, I mean, Pete
all
Sohn
of
is...
Pete Sohn's movies have been like, they've been more personal than anything else, which is fine. I mean, honestly, like I could use an Incredibles movie that's frankly a little bit more personal after Incredibles 2.
I'm good for that. I'm good with that. I just don't know, like, the general audience is going to be like, we want to see some action here.
Right. Of course.
I don't know. So we'll say, but he is one of Brad Bird's guys, which is a big vote of confidence, and I'm sure Brad Bird had a say or of some kind, like in selecting like who we have. I assume Mark Andrews isn't like around these days. Otherwise, I think Mark Andrews would have been first in line if you ask me. He would have been the go-to guy for Incredibles. But yeah, I mean, look. Yeah, Pete Sohn, quality director. I'm sure it's going to be good. Whether it's going to be, sensational, I don't know yet.
All right. Okay. Little Blue says, I'm sure Brad has full confidence in Pete to help Incredibles 3, seeing as how they worked together before, most prominently in Ratatouille.
Yeah, so again...
There's also rumored to be getting a sequel, but we're not going to talk about that until it's more concrete. We'll see. We'll see what happens there.
Yeah.
All right. Next up, Dragon, I'm going to let you take the lead on this. Mr. Miracle animated show. What do we know about this?
Okay, so... essentially, Tom King, the comic book writers, Tom King is adapting. He's going to be show running this animated show, which essentially is going to adapt his awesome kind of standalone limited series, Mr. Miracle, which the premise of, and they've confirmed this is essentially what the premise of the anime. It really seems like it's going to be a full adaptation of this limited series, which is a really good idea and something I kind of would like to think that James Gunn like approve with a big old green stamp. Which is so Mr. Miracle is do you know who Mr. Miracle is, like, at all, or?
The name sounds like vaguely familiar, but I can't place it, unfortunately.
So Mr. Miracle is a really cool Jack. I forget if I think Jack Kirby created him, but basically it was actually scratch that. No, Jack Kirby he created Big Barda, who was married to.
Okay.
The point being,
got it. Okay.
Anyways, point being, Mr. Miracle is I think of Jim not Jim Shooter. God. Jim Steranko, I believe, is a Jim Steranko. He's either a Jim Steranko character or Jack Kirby created him inspired by Jim Steranko, who in real life was an escape artist. That's what I was getting at. So Mr. Miracle is an escape artist who Apocalypse has this whole thing where they traded babies. He was a baby from New Genesis. He's raised by Darkseid, so he is kept essentially in hell on earth, that is Apocalypse, raised as Darkseid's son, and eventually, because he forged a relationship with Big Barda, who was like a female Fury, they escaped Apocalypse together and forged a life on Earth as heroes. So essentially, this follows them, married, and we talked about the Big Barda thing with the Notarelli short film.
Sure, I remember.
That's essentially, that is kind of the premise of this. Essentially, it's them in suburbia, settling down, having a kid. Presumably, that's what happens in the book. So the whole thing is like Mr. Miracle is. He doesn't want to escape from this, from the suburban kind of quiet life with his wife, but he's terrified his origin is going to repeat itself, that Darkseid is going to come for his newborn son. That's essentially what the premise is. So it'll be like, his past life encroaching. It's going to be escaping his son's fate while not escaping, the suburban existence.
Interesting.
Which, I mean, I'm not doing any justice, but the book's really good. It's very acclaimed, so it'll be like, if they adapt this, it's kind of what we had with WandaVision, only a little less strings attached. It's very more standalone than,
Sure.
It'll be great, and the fact that it's being animated, and this is the kind of projects that they're doing, it's a really big vote of confidence. And Tom King's been trying to do some stuff. They tried putting them on like some stuff with Apocalypse before. That was like the lady who did the Wrinkle in Time, Ava DuVernay. She was trying to do that New Gods movie, and Tom King was going to be involved in that, but then that got shelved. So this is kind of like this is even better for Tom King than that was. So this is good. Gotcha.
Yeah. Okay, alrighty. Next up, we got a big casting announcement. This is really exciting. We have John Bernthal officially coming in for the 4th Tom Holland Spider-Man movie. Dragon, I'm so excited to see him like officially enter the MCU. I honestly feel like this is like maybe one of the last actual crossover things in the MCU that we have not seen yet that I am genuinely excited for.
Oh yeah, it's very exciting. And here's what's so wonderful about this. I'm sure I told you about this when we did like the No Way, the Spider-Man Homecoming commentary way back when.
Mm-hmm.
Bernthal and Tom Holland, actually, this is a very full circle moment for their careers because they helped each other audition for the MCU for both of their respective Marvel roles way back when. Because around the time, they were doing like, he was auditioning for Civil War, he was auditioning for Daredevil. So, this is like, they helped each other get their respective parts. And of course,
Nice.
Cool. It's so cute because in the comics, Punisher's first appearance is in Spider-Man. So it's so adorable. These two are just kind of linked at the hip, and Spider-Man and Punisher kind of helped each other out in this behind the scenes way. And now we're finally kind of repaying the debt and presumably going to do some kind of version of the first appearance of the Punisher comic, which is basically Spider-Man dealing with the Punisher. I'm vaguely vindicated here. In the first scene in Spider-Man: Homecoming, where we're introduced to Peter Parker, like when he's doing like the little, kind of the little home movie of his Civil War experience, the recap, that I'm convinced he's doing like an impression of John Bernthal in that movie. It's like he was doing like the gruff New Yorker kind of bit,
right,
almost like a Punisher War Journal thing. I was always convinced that's him impersonating John Bernthal.
Oh my God, that's funny.
So yeah, that's going to pay that off. Now, of course, Punisher being in the next Spider-Man movie, especially given how we ended Daredevil Born Again, this is a really big vote of like, if he's in this.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, especially with just the way we're doing things here. I mean, it is possible we could have like a kind of a weird inverted like angel devil on the shoulder thing. We have Daredevil encouraging the good in Spider-Man, like, hey, Spider-Man, just I know things have been rough for you, but keep a stiff upper lip. And on the flip side, you have Punisher saying, "Yeah, you make those criminals pay."
Dude!
Yeah.
Oh, I want that so bad. I want that.
Just like Aunt May got killed, make the world feel that hurt.
Oh yes, absolutely.
And so that would be great. And of course, what force would also be involved in this? The King in the comic, Spider-Man's been contending with Kingpin being mayor. That's kind of what we have going on. And again, so while we can't put D'Onofrio in an Avengers movie, there is nothing saying we can't put him in a Sony Spider-Man movie.
Very true.
Technically, yeah. So before everyone's been saying, please give us Daredevil and Spider-Man. I mean, look, you're in Punisher and Spider-Man, which is very comics accurate, and Punisher has unfinished business with Kingpin and his flunkies from Born Again. I know we're getting that hour special, but still, it's like he'll be out, he'll be around. Kingpin isn't going to go away until he's Born Again season 2. I'm just saying, things happen in between.
Mm-hmm.
Spider-Man's like the only confirmed thing besides these Avengers movies that's happening after Fantastic Four. So
very true.
We got to fill the spaces somehow. Let's give D'Onofrio something to do.
Meanwhile, Mahershala Ali is just in the corner, just shedding a single tear.
Just quietly reading a book like,
oh, God.
When they get it together, they'll call me.
All right. Yep. Okay, so yeah, let's just kind of rapid fire through some trailers really quick, Dragon. We got The Toxic Avenger. I'll admit, I am not really, obviously I've heard of The Toxic Avenger, but, I'm not really... I haven't seen the movie or anything, so this does look fun though. Obviously, you got the Dink in there, Peter Dinklage, and it's great to see him. I think that's really inspired casting. I don't know. Looks like a fun time. It's done by the same guys who did the Terrifier movies. Dragon, is the fact that it's a comedy and not a horror movie, does that give you any sort of any peace of mind when it comes to the actual blood involved in this movie?
Well, I mean, mind you, so a while back I watched the Tromaville documentary about because James Gunn, he got to start with Troma and Lloyd Kaufman and everything, and Lloyd Kaufman is kind of adjacent to Roger Corman, so in that respect, I was always wanting with that. Now, mind you, the Troma movies, their gore effects are very, very gross in terms of nasty, just icky kind of stuff. Even though the films are lighthearted and comedic and stuff, they're very, very schlock, very kind of exploitation kind of stuff. So I won't be seeing this one in theaters. I mean, eventually when it streams, I will check it out, especially for the Dinklage of it all, and it's the fact that the sell for me with this one, I am familiar with the Toxic Avenger, so I already have kind of curiosity there. But it's the fact that it's like this is the highest production values because of the Terrifier of it all, the highest production values you'll ever see on a Troma movie.
Mhm.
That's kind of the sell for me, where it seems to be a solid reboot of Toxic Avenger. We have a very refined actor in the role versus the guy that we found who could wear the suit.
Right, right.
And it just feels like a movie that James Gunn would absolutely like approve of. That's the thing. So I think this thing, while not specifically James Gunn affiliated, it feels James Gunn affiliated.
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
So that's plus one of your boys is going to be Elijah Wood.
Elijah Wood, yeah. He looks particularly creepy for sure, and he has kind of made a post Lord of the Rings career of playing in Peregrine's words, playing weird little creeps.
Do you ever notice how funny it is, like in Clerks 2, the Elias character? He feels like Elijah Wood.
He does feel Elijah Wood coded. I'll give you that. Yeah, he does. He does.
Yeah. Feels like the Jersey-born version of Elijah Wood.
Oh God,
like Elijah Cedar or something, or Elias Cedar. I don't know.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see. So next up we have Spaceballs 2.
The Search for More Money.
Yes. I like the first Spaceballs movie. I don't love it as much as I love certain other Mel Brooks movies. I think as far as like Mel Brooks parody movies, like it's definitely better than something like Robin Hood Men in Tights, but I don't think it's on the same level as something like, like Blazing Saddles or Young Frankenstein. It's kind of rests comfortably in the middle there. But I gotta tell you, man, that fucking teaser trailer with the title crawl just laying out like all the sequels that we've gotten, like that captured my attention, my friend. That captured my attention. That makes me feel like Mel Brooks still has something to fucking say, and I'm kind of here for it. I'm excited about this one.
Yeah, I mean, look, when you look back in the original Spaceballs, in general, it's that like Rick Moranis, like he makes the movie. Like I love all the dark element scenes. They're the funniest fourth wall breaking scenes in the movie. They're the best part of the movie. Everything else is like, it's not Mel Brooks' best, but it's not bad. It's okay. But then dark element's like spectacular.
No, you're right. That's absolutely how I feel about the original. Yeah,
ultimately what it is, because those scenes are hysterical.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, so I'm with him, and the teaser definitely, like the crawl gag was like, okay, Brooks still has it, man.
Absolutely.
We're in pretty good shape. That's it's a good omen. I will say this though, okay, because there's been a lot of talk. I forget how official this is. Like I think there's like a pilot in development for Very Young Frankenstein. There's
Very Young Frankenstein. That's silly.
So that's what I'm saying. I mean, Brooks is involved in these things. How much is a question? I know he's not like directly making the Very Young Frankenstein, but I think he's probably approving stuff. But I mean, I guess with all the sequels,
Very Young Frankenstein, I would love them to tie Victoria Frankenstein from Epic Universe into that somehow.
Good. Anyways. So anyway, so the point being, I am kind of, a part of me is fearing continuations like this and Very Young Frankenstein, because there's always the possibility, I mean, God forbid, there's always the possibility that, this could be the last Mel Brooks project. That's kind of what we have with all of our new Mel Brooks things that get announced. So I mean, you have to hope it's going to be good and reflect well on the man. I mean, this I guess gives us a lot of hope here, but plus we have we did have a detail confirmed. We got Lewis Pullman in this movie.
Right.
Presumably playing like Lone Star's son, which could lead to some Kylo Ren jokes.
Oh, I'm sure it will. Absolutely, yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, of course, we're gonna have the lack of John Candy, but what's interesting? They haven't said he's gonna play anyone, but Josh Gad is involved in the writing on this. Josh Gad he's involved in this project with Mel Brooks. So, a lot of people are wondering, could he be playing like Barf's son?
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know.
Also, we have Keke Palmer rumored to be in it as well. Not officially confirmed, I don't think, but I think she would fit right in.
Yep.
All right. Okay, next up we have the new. I didn't even know this was a Lord and Miller movie when I recommended the trailer. Like I said, all I knew was that John Campea was kind of hyping it up. But the new Lord and Miller movie, Dragon, we have The Running Man. What do you think of The Running Man? Or I'm sorry, not my bad. The Running Man is Edgar Wright. Project Hail Mary.
Yeah, so Hail Mary. I got him. It gives me a lot of Courage the Cowardly Dog vibes because I keep thinking of the episode where Courage and Muriel and everyone they're going to the sun to put the new light bulb in the sun. So it kind of feels like feels very similar to that premise. It's not a problem with them because I would say it's a premise that's been, it's an actual the whole like exploding sun, exploding star kind of dilemma. So it's an interesting issue to address. It's is Lord Miller working with Gosling does sound like it's going to work. I mean, it looks has got a good flavor to it. I won't lie to you. I wouldn't say they've sold a ticket based on this trailer for me. Just watching it, just seems like okay, it's kind of interesting. I'm not really seeing like, oh, I have to see that. Like just Lord.
I'm kind of with you, honestly. Like I probably will go see it just based on the Lord and Miller of it all. Granted, Spider-Verse, that's my, but I digress there. But I think the trailer is interesting enough. It's solid enough, but I'm kind of with you where it doesn't necessarily make me like want to just instantly like, yes, that is something I have to see. That's like top 10 most anticipated of the year right there.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of with you.
Yeah, let's see like Implausible Sin Teacher in the space movie. Let's do that next. Yeah.
Right. All right. Okay. And finally, or no.
Okay, just say the next name. Okay, it's the Running Man. Okay, we're talking about the Running Man.
Yes. This looks okay. Obviously I'm a fan of Edgar Wright, but honestly, like I'm not gonna lie to you, Dragon. This kind of for me feels like it's basically just Edgar Wright sort of going through the motions of making a Hollywood remake. There's not really much here that gets me too excited. Glenn Powell. Glenn Powell, he's a damn movie star. I'm sure he'll do a solid job here. I don't doubt that, but honestly, that's really about the only thing this movie truly has going for it for me. I don't know. Did it do anything more for? Of course, I have not seen the original at all. It just doesn't appeal to me. Just not like 80s action movies. Just are not my thing. So, did this excite you any more than it excited me, Dragon?
So it's definitely not as hokey as the original from the looks of it, which is, of course, it's like, okay, we're going to put Schwarzenegger in kind of a funny costume while he's kind of fighting people to the death is kind of the idea. We're not doing that here. It's assumedly it's closer to the book, I guess, because it says basically Stephen King had some involvement in this. Now, I assume Running Man was one of his many books, which I had no idea about. Honestly, I just thought Running Man was a movie. I didn't know like Stephen King maybe wrote the book for that originally.
Mm-hmm.
So that is interesting, and just given the premise here, it basically in setup it would initially seem like okay, we could have easily just been phoning this in of like okay, we're just doing the Running Man over again, but it seems like we're serving, it's a survival premise, which is great. Now, mind you, it seems like more of that could easily just be like it's a big budget version of that Jackpot movie we had this year with John Cena, or like last year with John Cena and Aquafina, where it's like so everyone's hunting this one person. So it's not like we're reinventing the wheel with the survival story, but it seems like the Running Man being a survival story may play better in its favor, where the whole thing is like if he survives the end of the game, he wins. In this case, we've made it like if he can survive like it seems like a month, he'll win the money and everything. Which for a guy of desperate times signing up for this sort of thing, because like the original Running Man movie was like a very hackneyed, like very convenient way of like okay, he's been framed for a crime and now he's like on the docket to be on this game show, where it seems like someone says yes to this very dangerous game show for a really incredulous prize, kind of a thing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm more sold on it than I was the original Running Man. I will give it that Edgar Wright I think is going to bring a flair to the action, kind of like in the Baby Driver kind of vein, perhaps. I mean, Glenn Powell, I like me some Glenn Powell. I got him at the humor. Does not seem to be Edgar Wright's. Not his best based on this trailer. So
I kind of feel like Edgar Wright, like between Baby Driver, then Last Night at Soho, and now this, I kind of feel like he's trying to get away from just being like the British comedy guy, like the high concept British comedy guy.
Yeah.
which he really hasn't been since the Cornetto trilogy, because even Scott Pilgrim, obviously not British. So
I don't know if that's going to serve him or hurt him here, like, kind of downplaying the humor, which again is kind of like Running Man is
I
kind of
mean, I
still.
do think we have a little bit of humor with the Glenn Powell stuff. I think Glenn Powell's kind of bringing, like, at least the vibe of humor I got here, Dragon, is it's kind of like on that kind of like Novocaine level of like action comedy. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? It's that kind of mix.
I mean, I like the whole nonstop kind of like everywhere he turns, someone's trying to kill him, and he just can't escape it after a while. Like that's interesting to me, but it just seems like I wonder if they're going to run out of steam with like how many times can like Glenn Powell just kind of make light of that? I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, look, if they go into the Novocaine kind of humor vein, I mean, maybe I don't know. The point being, I'm intrigued, but I'm not like salivating over it.
Okay, so really quick, Little Blue says Mel Brooks popping up at the end of the trailer was great too. Yeah, and I love his line. His line was something like, "We listened to the fans, but then we made this instead."
Yeah.
But Little Blue also points out, like, History of the World Part 2. Dragon, I have not watched it, but I have not heard good things.
Well, I forget how involved Mel Brooks was in that though. So that's
not very, from what I know. So yeah, the fact that he does seem pretty involved here, that definitely gives me a little bit more.
Now, mind you, Josh Gad's probably doing most of the writing on Spaceballs too, though. I'm saying Mel Brooks he's involved. He's going to probably pop up in and he's producing it. I'm sure. Whether he's writing, I don't know if he's co-writing with Josh Gad or not. That I don't know.
I would hope that he's involved in the writing on some level.
I would hope so. I mean, I don't know official off the top of my head though if he is or not.
Yeah. Okay. All right, and finally, Dragon, we have the creme de la creme, the trailer that we've all been waiting for. Nolan's Odyssey, get the hell out of here. We're talking
Odyssey, why bother?
Bill fucking Hader, Cat in the Hat. A casting choice that I approved of. And I will say, if there's one thing I like about this trailer, it's the animation style. I think the animation style looks decent. Oh my god, the writing in this trailer, Dragon, is just atrocious. I don't know about you, man, but I cannot fucking stand this thing already.
Okay, did you look at the SNL joke I told you about?
Oh shit, no, I'm sorry.
Great,
forgot.
just great.
I'm sorry, it's been a busy day, my bad. I warned you it'd be a busy day.
It's like 4 minutes.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Anyway, so I want to say that 4-minute clip that would really help my example here. Was I'm pretty sure the whole reason Bill Hader was cast in the movie, because on SNL they did this sketch in which Bill Hader played the Cat in the Hat. It was hysterical. And one, of course, Tiki and I, we love Bill Hader, so unironically, pretty solid casting choice for the Cat in the Hat. Like, at least on papers, like, let's get Bill Hader's Cat in the Hat.
On paper, it makes a lot of sense, I think.
On paper, makes a lot of sense. Mind you, writing notwithstanding, as we're about to get into, in the bits that do work with him here is like the slight bits, it feels like, okay, Bill Hader can work. That said, so while I think he can fit the role, I think honestly, I think the first part of the trailer, like 2 gags of the first, as we front load the trailer with, they feel like Cat in the Hat. It feels like, okay, we're depicting Cat in the Hat is kind of this wacky kind of force here. And we see like he's opening the box and it says like don't touch, all the like don'ts thing. That feels very true to the Cat in the Hat. And then the whole like the working environment where everyone has like the hats and stuff, and the whole thing of like him like doing the Dr. Seuss rhymes and they're like Ron, like that's fun.
That did genuinely make me laugh. I'm not gonna lie.
So that's what we open on. So I think our opening humor and the animation style, like, it feels Seussian, which is the requirement. It's like, even look at the Illumination Grinch. This is not Illumination doing this, but it's in general. Look at the Illumination Grinch. Okay, it's very Seussian design. We got a lot of things right in terms of like bringing
the design in that movie was easily the best part of it. Yeah.
Exactly. So I'm saying these are like the things you want to get right in doing, adapting, Dr. Seuss. And so far, we kind of seem to have checked those boxes here. Unfortunately, again, Cat in the Hat's problem, and I've been actually watching someone do a Yesterworld put up a thing on Cat in the Hat. I haven't finished it yet, but they're doing really good research.
Great.
Yeah. Wait, did you finish it?
I did.
Oh yeah, so yeah, sure, it's good. Yeah, so really intensive research on that, which I appreciated. But they as you can tell, the history of Cat in the Hat's really hard to get right, this because it's such a short book and pretty much nothing happens. Barely anything happens in it. If you really boil it down, it's like 25 pages, right? Like however many pages. It's not long.
I mean, the dark ride at Islands of Adventure is like 5 minutes long, and that thing goes like beat by beat through the whole book.
Exactly. So in that regard, so I understand that adapting Dr. Seuss books are difficult because they are very short children's books, and there's only so much padding one can do. My answer to this would be make a short film or make something shorter, but that's just me.
Well,
Um, anyway, but yeah, so the problem here is you can definitely tell, okay, we gotta explain why the cat's there. So it's a day job. He's on his last legs here, so he's gotta really nail this, and it's not going well. But updating the story with the kid seems like a mistake. Like here's the moment where I checked out. I was like, oh no. When we mace the Cat in the Hat when he shows up, it feels like this doesn't feel right.
that's bad for sure.
And then, yes, you're right. Then it doesn't get better. I'm just saying that was when I had the oh
Right,
no, and then
right.
it was like I confirmed it. Like, oh yeah, we're in trouble here. So we have the wonderful Giancarlo Esposito popping up as I guess the cat's boss or something, and we do like we do a fart joke.
Oh, it's. I don't even want to I don't even
Not
want to
great.
go over it. It's so bad. It's so
That and we have the
just
whole
how just how dragged out that joke goes, man. That's what really hurts about it.
See, to me, it feels like we should have some. I think the key to doing Cat in the Hat is we should combine Cat in the Hat and the whole Cat in the Hat comes back. If we just somehow combine
I
those
totally
things,
agree. That would be the easy way to do it. Yeah.
just do that and keep the movie to the barest minimum of runtime, like 180 minutes, maybe. Well, not sorry, not 180. Sorry, an hour. Sorry, I meant 80 minutes.
3 hour Cat in the Hat epic.
No, no. Oh, just make it 80 minutes. Just like
Oh,
80, 85 minutes. Just however long you can do it. Plus, you have like 10 minutes of credits. So it'll be 90 minutes. So everyone will be appeased. They'll be fine.
yeah.
We can do that, but yeah. So also the fact that we have all the things is literally it's such a simple thing. Okay, he's got thing one, and there's thing two. Okay, there's thing one and thing three, and then then we reveal all the other things. Like, come on, guys, it's literally two things to get right, and we got one of them wrong.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, it just feels like we're trying too hard with this Cat in the Hat movie. We really don't have to. And at this point, it's like, why can't we just do a very highly produced show of some kind or something? We could just do like we do Green Eggs and Ham. They stretched a lot. They added story that
fucking worked though.
exactly. That's what I'm saying. Green Eggs and Ham. They added story that was nowhere in that book at all, and it worked. So it's not impossible to pad things out. But by the same token, though, you still had to remain true to the source materials. Like, look, you want to have the cat be wacky, let the cat be. You want to have him take the kids to more places, sure. But again, keep it two kids. Keep it a mom who doesn't know or is blissfully unaware. Okay, don't give me a boarding school plot. Don't just steal from the other movie. I don't know.
All right. So yeah, all in all, definitely not feeling the Cat in the Hat.
Yeah.
Okay, but let's transition into the movies we saw this month, Dragon. All right. There hasn't been a bad feature-length adaptation of a Dr. Seuss book. I mean, honestly, I'm going to push back on that less than you would think. Like, the only one I haven't seen is the Lorax, and even then I've seen... people have been kind of, reappraising the Mike Myers Cat in the Hat, and I do think there's some, kind of, weird gonzo comedy in there to be had. Laura... Yeah, go ahead.
Gordon Here's a Who's is a good one.
Gordon Here's a Who is good. I think both of the Grinch movies are at least good, although both have I think the Jim Carrey one, we just give him too much backstory, and that kind of slows that movie down. And then I think the Illumination one, the problem is that he's just not mean enough, just generally speaking. But yeah, I mean, I think all the Dr. Seuss movies have. I honestly don't think any of them have been terrible. I think the ad campaign for the Lorax was terrible, but I've heard the movie itself is watchable.
I don't know if I'd say watchable.
The Lorax seems like it's definitely at the bottom of the barrel.
Yeah, remember a lot of times they also get outclassed by like the shorthand at it, like the Lorax short, like that, like
Oh, I love that Lorax short. We should
that's what I'm
cover
saying. Like there's so
short.
it's very much in that shadow, and again, it's another thing of like they're stretching the length, and we're adding like the weird little hair guy.
Uh-huh.
Not the Lorax, but I mean like the bad guy who looks kind of like Edna Mode if she were a politician. That
Yeah,
guy.
I know who you're talking about.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Next up. So yeah, we have movies.
Well, Tiki.
What?
Tiki Kroll.
Oh, okay. Hold on. I see what the problem is. Let me change that. Dragon, you did get around to seeing Life of Chuck, right?
I desperately wish I could say yes, but
Yeah.
no.
All right. So, Dragon, have you heard about the framing device of Life of Chuck at all?
Yeah, so it's like three acts at different points in the young man's life. Is that right?
Yes, and it goes basically in reverse chronological order, like starting with starting at the latest point, and the last act of this movie is the childhood stuff. So yeah, Dragon, there is something that they do with the first act of this movie. I don't even want to give it away because like the trailers don't imply it at all. But let's just say the first act of this movie, there is a supernatural component to it. And it took me off guard, but in a really good way. It took me off guard in like oh wow, okay, like what are we doing here? What does this mean? This is super interesting. We're really setting up like a really interesting kind of mystery here. And I gotta tell you, man, the ending of this movie fucking wraps up that mystery so well in such a satisfying way. It's not like an M. Night Shyamalan plot twist. It's just like the ending of the movie is basically like, yes, this is what all that. In case you weren't clear about what all the stuff in the first act was, it is this. And man, it's awesome. Dragon, in a perfect world, Mark Hamill would be getting like fucking Sylvester Stallone in Creed levels of and I don't think Sylvester Stallone actually did get the nomination, but I'm saying he was in the conversation, and I think Mark Hamill should be too. Because Mark Hamill, I mean, come on, like you're not surprised, obviously, but he does knock it out of the park. He has a fantastic performance. I would say if I had one nitpick about this movie, it's that I actually don't think that we have enough time with Tom Hiddleston as the adult version of Chuck. I think basically, Dragon, without giving anything away, believe it or not, Tom Hiddleston is barely in the first act. The point that's the furthest into the timeline. I don't want to like explain why. It makes sense, like I said, by the end, but then he's really only in the Act 2, and Act 2 is basically just like a point in time. It's literally like, I mean, by all intents and purposes, Dragon, Act 2 is like a dance sequence and a conversation. That's basically it. So we don't really get a lot of the Tom Hiddleston version of Chuck, but obviously we get Chuck being played by multiple different actors in the young timeline. That all works. I definitely think once we get to the child timeline, it really kind of crystallizes. And like I said, there's some supernatural stuff. The supernatural stuff kind of ties into the Mark Hamill character in a way I don't want to give away. It's just a really great movie. It's Dragon, I would say it's probably my number 3 of the year so far. The only two that beat it are probably Sinners and The Surfer, which I know is like a silly movie on my end to have so far, but yeah. Okay, Colby says I'm one of the people that loved the first act. I did too, Colby. I did too. I was very intrigued by the first act. Let's see. Code Geass says so far all the films I've seen in 2025: Section 31, Captain America 4, and Minecraft. Well, Code Geass, I mean, I like full respect for you keeping up with this podcast then, because all we do is talk about new releases basically. So, all right, so yeah, Life of Chuck, Dragon, big win for me in the top 3 of the year so far for me, definitely. Okay, next up we have Elio. Don't want to spend too much time on it. We've already done a full-blown spoiler cast on it. I think it's great. I think it's I think out of all the Pixar movies that kind of got caught in development hell, this isn't Ratatouille, but this might be like the second best in that scenario. I mean, I really think they kind of like they kind of made lemons out of or lemonade out of lemons in this situation, Dragon.
Yeah, yeah, again, it's a shame that Adrian Molina set up for this to be his big his big director passion project, and you got pulled into Coco 2, and apparently there's a lot of murmurs right now. Their development was really rough on this one. We have Dome Shi and Madeline Ashrafi, and they really infused a lot of a lot of different layers into the movie. And I mean, look, with the end result that we did get, I was very satisfied with it. I'm head over heels for the whole loneliness and loss being applied to the question of, are we alone in the universe, which I thought was such an inspired, awesome idea right from the get go. Gave me that warm and fuzz. This is why I love Pixar. Because they're posing these kind of questions that we're embracing our characters early on into exploring these themes. I think it was a fun movie. I love Brad Garrett as Qui-Gon. Just Pixar
one of
can't
the
really
all-time best matchstick moments in a Pixar movie.
Oh yeah,
in my opinion, just hands down, they really elevated the matchstick moment here.
Yeah. So unfortunately, Pixar just can't catch a break with the original stuff lately. It's just not hasn't been going well for them.
Well, you know what? If they gave Elio literally a quarter of the marketing budget that they gave fucking live action Lilo and Stitch, Dragon, I am absolutely convinced there was more marketing going on for live action Lilo and Stitch in the third or fourth week of its release than there was for Elio the week it came out.
Yeah.
The live action Lilo and Stitch is it's still a marketing machine. And I think the actual movie is hard to hate. We'll get into it with my catch up. But I hate that marketing, man. I really hate that marketing.
Yeah.
So I honestly think Disney has no one to blame but themselves. They basically decided to have Elio be a sacrificial lamb to Lilo and Stitch in the marketing
I
department.
hate that Pixar is kind of carrying the water for Disney. Disney's marketing stuff. It just feels like, oh man, don't let them. Don't let them get hooked in them. Yeah,
I feel like this is a very similar situation to something like Strange World, and this is a much better movie than Strange World. So
yep, yeah. No, they're not backing it. They're not selling. So again, it's not ideal. Which again, people are kind of sleeping on a solid movie here. I mean, it's anyway.
All right. Okay, so next up we've got 28 years later. I'll make this one quick, Dragon, because obviously I know it's not really your thing.
It's not 28 weeks later, kids. It's 20 years later.
Thank you. Dragon, by the way, when I was at Six Flags for a couple hours yesterday, I was in line for the Joker.
Are you sure it was a couple of years?
Yes.
Good.
I was in line for the Joker, and I swear to God, one of the trivia questions was who was the first Robin?
What did you say?
I said DG.
Oh, you did? Oh, good. Yeah.
Dragon, I swear to God,
did you know what DG stood for when you said that?
Well, yes, because it spelled out Dick Grayson on the screen, yes. Dragon, I swear to God, I almost took a picture and sent it to you. I was delighted by that.
God.
You see, I do know who Dick Grayson is.
Finally, it took him several years, but he finally learned what DG stands for.
So 28 years later, so much like The Life of Chuck, I feel like this movie, it's very episodic in its storytelling. The three acts that it does have are very self-contained. I mean, it's following the same character, which is the 12-year-old kid, but all three acts feel pretty distinct from each other. And a lot of people are calling this movie a mess because of that, but I just think it's Danny Boyle sticking to his vision and really delivering something that's unique. This is not in my upper echelon of movies this year. I feel like zombie movies just aren't really my thing. There's a couple questionable editing decisions. I think at some points Danny Boyle kind of goes back to his roots as a music video director a little too much in some of the editing choices in this movie. But it's really solid. And let me tell you, Dragon, the one thing about this movie that I think obviously I know you're not going to watch the actual movie, but look up clips of the Ralph Fiennes character, because Ralph Fiennes plays a fucking fascinating character in this movie. And it's genuinely one of the best Ralph Fiennes performances I've seen in a while. So that's the one takeaway I'll give for this movie is the Ralph Fiennes character was fascinating. Not in a lot of it. He only pops up in the third act, but when he does pop up, it really kind of kicks the movie into high gear. So I like it a lot. I doubt it's going to be in like my top 10 of the year or anything, but it's still very, very solid. All right. Okay, next up, How to Train Your Dragon. You saw this, right?
Yeah.
I will let you start with it then.
So, it's kind of like I expected that. It's a no-win situation, the live-action remake, where even if you do great, your big takeaway is going to be why bother. It's like it's like a good visual effects artist. It's like you do an amazing job, they're going to think of it as live action. So it's like no one's going to know the magic that I did behind the scenes. Dean DeBois, he did an amazing job making the same movie again, but in a medium that he's never worked in before. So he did a really serviceable, really good job for his first outing. But he, with the safety net of like, well, it's a movie that you definitely know how to make, just in a medium you've never done before.
How to Make Your Dragon.
Yeah. So he put the work in, and it was great. But let's be honest, it doesn't surpass the original. But basically, it's How to Train Your Dragon for the normies who need it to be in live action to be a valid movie. If you're like, we'll only accept if it's in live action. Oh, it's in live action. We'll accept it now. It's like, okay.
Who's one of those people, Dragon?
Who?
My mother.
Like, you know what's funny? Okay, so my grandmother, I took her to see this for her birthday because she loved the original. So it's not just like only because like it looks good. She did have a great fondness for the original trilogy, and she very much wanted to see it in live action. So we went to see it. She had a great time with it. She loved it. Of course, Gerard Butler, being stoic in live action, big sell for I think everyone.
We'll talk about that. I have things to say about that.
Sure. But yeah, I mean the changes I can count on one hand. Besides the casting, I only had one gripe with the casting when I was in the movie, just one.
Okay.
I think it's ridiculous. I think it's really dumb. Look, it doesn't kill the movie or anything, but it's just like it's really dumb that the twins aren't actually twins.
I agree. That was a little distracting, and I hear you. I just
felt like that's the whole gimmick. It's like they didn't even have the line still in the movie that they're twins. I'm not even talking like a fraternal thing.
Just have like a male or female actor play both of them, like Michael B. Jordan style. Honestly.
Yeah.
No, I'm not even joking.
You're right. It's like
they're so interchangeable that we could easily do that.
Yeah.
So. I have one question, Dragon. What did you think of the running gag with Snotlout's father?
Well, I like that because it's kind of a reference to again. It was very lightly in the background of the movies, but the show, as you and I, you and I kind of. Well, I'll just tell you.
I didn't get more than a couple of into it.
Yeah, so in the show, they very much hit on the whole thing with Snotlout's dad not really.
Played by the Tick himself.
Yeah. So here he's played by the Tick. In the show, he's played by David Tennant. A lot of people wonder why.
Oh, really? Oh my God!
And David Tennant loved playing the character, so it's not like a thing like he didn't want to do. It's just David Tennant's he's not very Viking-like in design, so we can't really
That's true.
Gerard Butler, he's very close. Okay, Gerard Butler's one thing, but David Tennant, that's gonna be hard to make that guy into like an imposing Viking that Snotlout would have to live up to. So of course the great Peter Serafinowicz played him. So that was a great nod to. And again, if anyone's going to make that,
like a good example of adding something to the movie that actually worked, and I actually thought kind of like added something to Snotlout's character, and it was genuinely funny.
Yeah,
I also like how they fleshed out the Viking culture. I like that the Elder got a little bit more fleshing out. So basically, Dragon, I think that this movie. You're right. The animated movie absolutely tops it for sure. I think this is about the best we're going to get, though, as far as the live action remakes go.
Yeah, this is kind of like, let's face it, Tiki. This is essentially, for the most part, essentially what we expect and kind of what we want from a live action remake.
It's way better than Lion King 2019, which is also very shot by shot, because unlike Lion King 2019, which spends its extra screen time basically just dicking around with fancy CGI shots, this actually spends its extra screen time developing the characters, developing the Viking culture out a little bit more. And that's what I want, Dragon. If we do need to actually have this be 2 hours, let's actually have screen time that's worthy of being there. And I think this movie does that.
Yeah, and again, we didn't really any changes that were made or adjustments that were again made in the effort of story. So it wasn't really made just like for the sake of like, well, we got to make it different. It was like, well, no, we don't have to make it different. We just have to make it, like feature length, I guess, or something. Like not feature length, sorry, but we have to, we gotta realistically either pad things out just a skosh, or at least give it time to like realistically how would a character move in real life versus animation. That's
Exactly. I have a couple things. I mentioned my mom. Dragon, I'm taking my mom and I are going to Epic Universe together in December. So obviously, I wanted her to be familiar with How to Train Your Dragon for the land.
Yeah,
I tried showing her the movie or the original. She was genuinely kind of bored.
Oh my god!
But then she asked me like, "Hey, why don't we see the live action remake? Because it's not a cartoon. I'll actually be interested in it." And I literally looked at her and I'm like, "How the fuck are you my mother?"
See, I love that in that
Are you
statement.
sure we're not adopted?
Now it's funny that your mother, her logic there does feel like in mine, not with the animation part of that, but just the whole thing of like, I won't get bored if we do it this way. That's you,
right.
So that's where you got it from.
Mother,
so that's your punishment that you actually deserve on that.
You are the problem, mother. You specifically are the problem. So let's talk Gerard Butler, because Dragon, honestly, for me, I don't think we've ever had a situation in one of these live action remakes where we've had a moment of physical acting, nonverbal physical acting that can be directly translated like this. And you know what moment I'm talking about, Stoic. That to me, seeing Gerard Butler get to act out that moment, that was worth fucking everything, man.
There you go. Yeah.
That was so fucking gratifying. That was like to me one of the most gratifying moments I've ever had in any of these like live action remakes. That to me was like worth the price of admission. I was like, as soon as we got to that moment, Dragon, I was holding my breath. I was like, the whole movie kind of hinged on that moment. And I think Gerard Butler nailed it. So yeah. So I would give this movie, like, honestly, like a strong 7 out of 10. It's not going to be on my top 10 list, but I think it was a pleasant surprise.
I do love Gerard Butler in the press. Gerard Butler had a really excellent suggestion for the sequels, which have already been like green. At least the second one's been greenlit already. Get Cate Blanchett to play Volca.
Oh, I think she absolutely, yeah.
I don't see.
I'm not ready to see Gerard Butler die in live action. I'm just saying, I'm not ready to see that. Like, I'm unlike fucking live action Lion King. I'm genuinely dreading that moment, Dragon.
It's nice to see Sanders and Dubois getting like a lot of love this year.
Yeah, but Chris Sanders. I mean,
look, I know it's not going to be comparable.
He has the wild robot. All right, I will give him the wild robot.
Look,
that being said, Chris Sanders is a big part of the Lilo and Stitch marketing shit that I hate, Dragon. I hate the marketing stuff with Stitch where he's sitting down for interviews and he's speaking in complete fucking sentences. I hate it.
You see that I haven't seen.
I know Stitch can technically speak in complete sentences, like "This is my family." It's little and broken, but
that was a big. They built that up though. That was like the end of the movie.
But now it's like now Dragon. He is literally like being interviewed and he's talking in complete sentences, and I fucking hate it. And I resent Chris Sanders for even going along with that.
Yeah, I haven't seen that, so I had no idea they were doing that kind of stuff in the market. Yeah,
well, I am on Instagram, sir. I don't want to be on Instagram, but I am pursuing stand-up comedy.
That's kind of your. You don't have to be on.
No, if I want to have any traction in that area at all, I have to be Dragon.
Oh my god. Anyway, look, I was saying it's nice to see Lilo and Stitch and How to Train Your Dragons getting some appreciation.
It is kind of trippy that like these two movies that are both like Chris Sanders co-directed properties are like having big moments at the same time.
Yep.
Alrighty. Okay. Good discussion there. Good discussion. Okay. Next up we have, what are we? Some kind of a Phoenician steam. I don't know why. I don't know why that quote fits so well with that movie, but it just does. Dragon, this movie's a mess, sadly. As you know, Asteroid City, I will still say it. Asteroid City is my number one Wes Anderson movie.
That's a recency bias. I don't buy that.
I don't think so. I don't think it's a reason. I think it's just that movie was a culmination of everything I love about
When's the last time you rewatched Asteroid City?
Honestly, maybe a couple months ago.
Okay, fair.
I rewatch it pretty frequently, Dragon. I really do.
Okay.
So, Dragon, there's one scene in here that you absolutely have to see, okay?
Yeah?
It's the Bryan Cranston and Tom Hanks scene.
That's what I was hoping you were about to say, okay.
Dragon, it's fucking hilarious. It's genuinely one of the biggest laughs I've ever gotten from any Wes Anderson movie, all right? The physical comedy at play there, I don't want to give away exactly what they're doing, but it's awesome. It's awesome. That being said, I think the plot of this movie is almost intentionally confusing. I think it's messy. I think out of all the Wes Anderson movies, honestly, this one might be the one where the ensemble cast just feels like a collection of cameos. I mean, you got Michael Cera, you got Benicio del Toro, you got the actress playing his daughter, and that's it, Dragon. Really, that's it. Literally everyone else in this movie is there for like one, maybe two scenes at the most. And I got to tell you, man, that is the big difference to me between something like this and something like Asteroid City. Asteroid City, even the smallest roles, even fucking Bryan Cranston as the narrator sticks out in that movie. But here he just can't say the same thing. I mean, it's just but yeah, Colby, I do agree. I think this is Michael Cera's best performance ever, which I agree is like that's not that big of a bar to clear. He usually plays himself. Here, he's actually putting effort in. He's actually like, and there's some twist with his character as well. So there's kind of a couple layers of acting with his character. So like, I enjoyed this movie well enough. I definitely think it's probably in my bottom like 2 or 3 Wes Anderson movies total, which is a shame. And I kind of feel like, Dragon, I kind of feel like the realization I made here is that I prefer Wes Anderson when he's dealing in more self-contained stories. So like the Royal Tenenbaums, that just takes place in and around the Tenenbaum estate for the most part. Moonrise Kingdom, which was my favorite Wes Anderson movie before Asteroid City, that takes place just around the island. Asteroid City, obviously it's mostly just the small desert town. I feel like when Wes Anderson expands that, when we do something like The Life Aquatic or Grand Budapest Hotel, which I'm not as high on as other people, this probably has the most ambitious world building out of any Wes Anderson movie. Like he's inventing like full-blown like fake countries and stuff. But it's just muddy, man. It's just messy. So I wanted to like this more than I did, but ultimately I kind of walked away like this is definitely in the lower tier of Wes Anderson stuff, unfortunately. But, Wes Anderson, he makes so much. I'm sure he'll be back soon, and I'm sure that his next film will hopefully be better than this. So, all right. Okay, let's see. Next up, we have Dragon. I know I need to get to this. DreamWorks, Shooting for the Moon. Tell the people about this.
Okay, folks. So I'm pretty sure this was in connection with the Annecy animation event in France. It's kind of like the Cannes Film Festival for animation. It's kind of what it is. Essentially, this was a documentary that
my mother would be so bored there.
Well, yeah, of course.
That would be like my mother's nightmare.
Yep.
I'm sorry, that animation thing, that's definitely going in her roast next year because I'm doing the roast as like an annual thing. Anyways, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Anyway. Yeah, insult your mother in front of a room full of people, Tiki.
Yeah. You're goddamn right.
Yep. Inflict emotional scarring.
Anyways, loves it. She loves it.
Oh, sure she does. She's not crying through the
Dragon,
pain.
she literally suggests material for the next roast all the time, all right?
Well, the ego on your mother, I tell you. Anyway. So, yeah, point being this, so this is a documentary that was made by some of the French DreamWorks talent. I believe it was specifically, I think it was Jean Lacheur and Robin Thirret. So basically, this is an independent documentary made by made for DreamWorks turning 30, which I think happened last year. Essentially, the movie. So it's a documentary. It's like 2.5 hours. It's very in depth. It's very well made. It's French and subtitled, so that might be the deal breaker for some folks. But I promise you,
Subtitles are not usually a deal breaker for me, but with documentaries, that's a little bit of a barrier.
It's still really weird for me, by the way. The fact that you are all about the foreign film and the subtitles, but if it's a documentary, which I know you like documentaries, never the twain.
I do, but I like to watch documentaries where it's like I don't know. Documentaries are more comfort watches for me, so.
Yes, you
like if I'm going to be engaging with a subtitled film, it's going to be like a Miyazaki or like a Best Picture contender or something like that.
Well, still, again, there are Miyazaki documentaries that are subtitled,
which I have not watched.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So,
anyways,
okay. The point being. So this is posted on YouTube, so everyone can watch it right now. Again, in terms of finding it, I don't have like the exact French name, but I think if you go to Google and you type in DreamWorks Shooting for the Moon, you'll find like an article, and there will be a link to YouTube, and that'll take you to it. But that was an extra step, but it's worth it.
You can't just search in YouTube DreamWorks Shooting for the Moon.
I mean, you can try. I did it one time, but didn't get results. I mean, I don't know if it might work. I don't know because more people are watching it now. So. Anyway, so the point being, this is posted on YouTube by the filmmakers, who I've spoken to in the comments very directly. I told them how great the film was, and they were very gracious. I said, could use a little bit more Megamind. They said, oh yeah, we would have put more in there, but it didn't. We didn't have a lot of discussion on it. So
we just want to avoid Megamind versus the Doom Syndicate comparison. the less association with that, the better.
So long story short, these are DreamWorks. They got a whole bunch of they got pretty much all the DreamWorks animators they could. They were the foreign DreamWorks animators, and so it's DreamWorks animators talking to other French and foreign DreamWorks animators for basically the ultimate peek behind the curtain about what went on in the formation of DreamWorks. It's like the whole history of DreamWorks, and it's great. It's so well done and informative. It's. We see, it's like the humble beginnings of DreamWorks and how it was founded. I learned a lot of stuff I didn't know, like, Katzenberg really, it was basically a company formed out of spite, essentially.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Which is really fascinating. And, you have Spielberg trying to make a new movie studio, which is like in kind of in the bingo of his career of like, I'm going to forge my own studio again, Amblin, the DreamWorks. You have and they go over that. They talk about the transition between Amblimation, the DreamWorks, essentially, which is kind of interesting. Right, yeah. They kind of goes hand in hand. So we covered that and how they really rolled out the welcome wagon. Like they basically, they were trying to, when DreamWorks started, they were doing what Pixar had by Monsters Inc. But from the beginning, they had like the whole basically imagine the Pixar atrium from the start in terms of the animators aren't going to have to drive. We'll have cars pick them up. We're going to give them we have a commissary that has like a very nice food for them, snacks galore. It's like we're going to treat them like kings, so they will come to us and not Disney.
Uh-huh.
They will take a gamble on this new animation studio and make like the film again. Prince of Egypt being the big groundswell of like everyone's going to want to work on Prince of Egypt. Everyone did want to work on Prince of Egypt, and then Katzenberg throws ants at him. So just fascinating. And also with that, you have PDI, which basically, while they have the traditional animators, the French animators working on Prince of Egypt, you have PDI, working on ants on the side, and basically at some point he fuses the companies, and that's how we get Shrek and everything, So it's just a lot of interesting stuff on how a lot of this came about. We go to the highs and lows. Of course, the highs of like How to Train a Dragon, and then the lows that led to the whole Comcast Universal thing. So it's very, it's good stuff. I had no idea. You always hear for example, on the Pixar side of things, Brad Bird always highlight the Hispanic, the Latinx, Hispanic, sect of Pixar. Like, we need animation. Go to the Spaniards is what he famously said on the Incredibles commentary. The Three Caballeros, all that. So it's very, very, international town, very integral. But I never realized, like, oh my God, it was this important to the foundation of Dreamers. Like the best animators they had were French, or
All right.
coming from all over. So yeah, it's great. They get into the whole Bugs Life debacle and everything. It's Jeffrey Katzenberg again. He's very much yet again the polarizing, fascinating character he always is in this documentary. Again, I love this. I recommend this highly. I just wish to God it was dubbed so it would be an easier sell, but it is what it is.
All right.
I too like the multitasking. I feel your pain, but by the same token, though, it's like, if you have the time.
And now keep in mind, it's not like I'm watching like the new Paul Rubens documentary, which is like a 4-hour epic and like, playing Mario Kart the whole time or anything. I'm not that like dismissive when it comes to watching documentaries. But I'm just saying, I feel like when I'm watching a documentary, I kind of want to just lounge around a little bit more. But anyways.
Yeah.
Okay, so next up, Dragon, we have Methrigan 2.0. I'm not even going to beat around the bush here, Dragon. I thought this thing had some potential. The trailers advertise essentially like, hey, we're doing the Terminator 2 thing. Dragon, this might be the worst movie I've seen all year. I hated this thing. I really.
Really? You hated Mithrigan? I'm shocked.
Dragon, I and most other people, at the very least, liked the first movie. All right. No, this thing's a mess. I don't want to spend much time on it. I think the big problem with this movie is that the first movie, like, it definitely had moments of humor that became memes for sure, but ultimately the first movie was like kind of a little bit of a mean-spirited little movie. It did try very hard to be horror, but it did, it leaned into horror more than this does. This movie, man, it's like they're not even trying. Like, they're not even like, this is just comedy. It's barely even an action comedy. It's just comedy. And what drives me crazy about this movie, Dragon, is I have never seen a movie be so desperate where it's like literally everything out of Megan's mouth, everything out of all the characters' mouths, just everything just feels like it's essentially just like one long TikTok, all right? Like, that's what it feels like. This whole movie just feels like it was manufactured to go viral on TikTok. It feels super cynical. I don't think any of the action is particularly memorable. Honestly, Colby, the Megan singing the Kate Bush song, that was the funniest moment in the movie for me, and it was funny specifically because of how long it went. I was like, oh wow, okay, they're really. It's one of those jokes where it's like it starts out funny and then it goes on a little long, but then it's like it goes on for so long that it actually is funny. I don't know. At least that's how I took that joke. But yeah, ultimately, Dragon, Jesus Christ, this movie was a waste of time. Worst movie of the year, probably. Like, granted, I know there's movies that have come out this year that are worse than this movie. But at least from the movies that I have seen, this might be the worst one. Just hands down. All right. What's next for you, Dragon?
My Mom Jane, a film by Mariska Hargitay.
Okay.
So yes, I was surprised. This was kind of a random drop. It's an HBO documentary. Nice and simple. Just it's like an hour, or like maybe an hour 40 minutes, hour 30 minutes, however long. And basically, I had no idea Mariska Hargitay was the daughter of Jane Mansfield, the model.
Mm-hmm.
The sex symbol, Jane's Mansfield. So yeah, she was kind of like another Marilyn Monroe of her day, is kind of the idea. Only she had a little bit, Marilyn Monroe, as we saw, like she had some layers, but not a lot. Let's be honest. She was kind of like,
How dare you? I'm kidding.
Yeah. Anyway, but yeah, so the idea is like Mariska Hargitay is like now. I think the whole premise of the documentary is like she's now reached age 60. Her mother died young in a car accident. It was very sad, and she's looking back after spending her whole career just kind of distancing herself from her mother because of some issues growing up, because her mother married a lot, there are a bunch of kids, a bunch of siblings, so like she's looking back on things and kind of like interviewing friends and family, kind of getting to know her mother through them, and just kind of getting kind of like reading old letters and stuff like that, really to get closure and understand her parents. And also, she had a secret father, which that was the big rift in terms of like that separation between, kind of like, her and her mother. So, after she passed, I guess. But, so it's a very solid documentary. It was a gem of a find, I'll tell you that much. It was like, it wasn't looking for it. It just kind of dropped in my lap. I was like, Mariska Hargitay. I was more a CSI guy than I was, you know, uh, was Special Victims Unit, but I'll go for it. And it was informative. It was pretty solid. I think it's good. It's got some good genuine. I think you'd really like this. Honestly, I think you'd be interested in it.
Hold on. Yeah, I okay. Sounds good.
Okay.
1 second. I'm looking up if Mariska Hargitay was in this one. Oh, she was Dragon. She was in Tequila and Bonetti, the one-season sitcom about a cop and his talking dog. And I only know about that show through Brad Jones. So yeah.
I'm glad to see anything of what I just said just landed with you there. So yeah.
All right. Okay, and finally on my end we have Formula One. Dragon, I'm not gonna lie, I was straight up dreading this movie. This is done by the same guy who did Top Gun Maverick, a movie which, like, I get why people like it. Like, I'm not gonna say I didn't like Top Gun Maverick. I enjoyed it for what it is. It's the movie that really kind of put Glenn Powell on the map, which I definitely think is the biggest cultural significance that movie has. But Dragon, I really like, outside of weirdly Gran Turismo, which had an awful trailer, but like I actually got pretty engaged with Gran Turismo. Generally speaking, I am not big in racing movies. Like Ford v Ferrari, I was pretty bored by, honestly. So I was going into this movie kind of dreading it. And I got to tell you, like, it's not going to be like in my top 5 of the year. It's probably not going to be in my top 20 of the year. But I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it quite a lot. I think Brad Pitt has a really, really good. I mean, obviously Brad Pitt's always solid. He's got a good screen presence. This movie, like, it kind of hinges on like the kind of like tried and true, like, the rookie on the racing team has a rivalry with Brad Pitt, who's kind of like the Lightning McQueen style veteran. Like, obviously we've seen that type of plot a lot over the years with these types of movies. That being said, I think it's handled really well here. I think both of the characters in the rivalry get really fleshed out, really well developed. I think the rivalry is very very multi-layered. I really enjoyed it. Let's see, Javier Bardem is here, and he's being Javier Bardem. He's being his charming self. We got Carrie Condon, Dragon. It's really nice to see her in a big movie like this, and she continues to just have a great screen presence, using her natural Irish accent like she used in the Banshees of Inisherin here. Unfortunately, I think her role is a little thankless. I think her role, it basically does just kind of come down to that kind of like, 90s, like, she exists to be the love interest, and that's about it. But that being said, I think her screen presence is really good. And like I said, it's cool to see her star power kind of rise, because I think she's a big talent. The editing in this movie is really, really on point, honestly. Like, I really, like, there is some very flashy editing here that I thought was really engaging. I mean, this movie's 2.5 hours long, and I thought that was going to be torture, but for the most part, it really did keep me invested. I think the racing scenes here, like, obviously the big gimmick is much like how with Top Gun Maverick, you have Top Gun Maverick, like, filming from the actual plane. Here, you've got a lot of shots from the perspective in the actual Formula One cars. It's really effective. It really gets you, it's an adrenaline rush. It's kind of a theme park ride of a movie in a fun way. Hans Zimmer has a really, really good score here. Honestly, this score for me with Hans Zimmer is kind of the equivalent to what I'm sorry, Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross did with Challengers last year. I'm not saying it's as good of a score as that score, but I'm saying like Challengers is very much like a techno-driven score, electronica-driven. This is the same kind of energy, and I'm here for it. I really, really liked it. Honestly, like it's not a groundbreaking movie by any means. It's not going to be a movie that I'm going to be returning to over and over again. But I had a really good time with it in the theater, man. It was a nice little surprise for me. So yeah, definitely one of the more engaging racing movies that I've seen. All right, let's transition over to TV. What do we got, Dragon?
All right, let's see. So I'm up first, right? We're talking Lazarus.
Yes.
Okay, so Lazarus, this was the long-awaited return of Watanabe's son, the man who did. Well, I guess I'm gonna attempt to pronounce the first name here. Shinichiro Watanabe, the man behind Cowboy Bebop, the man who created Cowboy Bebop.
Okay.
So that things everyone's like, oh my god, when's Watanabe's son gonna do another anime? Since
that's
Cowboy
a big
Bebop
deal for sure.
So there was some hype around that. I heard some murmurs about it, as you know. You're like I binged through Cowboy Bebop, a while back.
Cowboy Bebop, definitively probably one of the best animes of all time.
Yeah, no, that's the thing. Yeah, and it lives up to the hype. Of course, we don't have Megas XLR the way we have without Cowboy Bebop. It's very in terms of getting we have like voice talent.
I appreciate about Cowboy Bebop is unlike most anime, it is very self-contained, and I appreciate that. But yeah.
So so I heard some murmurs that this was happening, and I very eagerly checked it out. So and I thought it was so refreshing about it, Tiki, is that the way it premiered, like it premiered on Toonami, like on Saturday nights.
Nice.
And it was like at midnight. It was like this whole like every week it was just kind of like, oh man, get a new episode of this Lazarus thing. And it feels like kind of what you would imagine it would have felt like to watch Cowboy Bebop the first time. And,
I remember what it was like watching like the Majin Buu arc of Dragon Ball week to week. So
that's the thing. So it takes me back to that too. So I just love like the whole anime experience through Toonami, which they're kind of doing with Daimyo right now. Daimyo has been, they've been airing that through Toonami as well, episode by episode with the English dub. So it's kind of like weekly. So that's cool. Anyway, so the whole premise here. So this is like a dystopia. I really doubt they're going to get a second season. I mean, there's a chance they could. It's not. That hasn't been renewed or canceled anything yet. I think they're
the guy isn't exactly known for doing second seasons.
Well, no. Well, here's the thing. So this was 13. Cowboy Bebop was 26 episodes, right? So this was 13.
Was that technically one season or two seasons?
Well, no. So I think Cowboy Bebop is one season, but it was 26. But it was 26 episodes. This is 13 episodes, which begs the question: could there be another 13 around the corner or not? Doesn't technically need it, and because of that, I don't suspect we're going to get it. But I'm just saying with the whole 26 to 13 thing. I mean, I don't know. Point being, so this is self-contained, but I'll tell you now, nowhere near as good as Bebop.
Not surprised.
It is all on Max if you want to give it a shot, mind you. You could always just give it a shot and see how you like it. At the very least, has a really good pilot I think is worth watching. So basically, the idea is you're in the future. You have this Dr. Skinner guy. He basically poisoned a pain reliever that a lot of people use that basically they learn, after 3 years, it like 3 years and 30 days from now, it will kill anyone who's used it.
Oh, yikes.
So basically, it's a race.
Oh, right off the bat, I got to admit.
So when he shows up, again, very excellent pilot. The pilot feels like Cowboy Bebop in the way you want it to. So that's the sell. And I don't think it maintains the momentum of Cowboy Bebop in a sense. Where I'm not saying I know Cowboy Bebop's episodes are they're not really super connected or like a through line. I know we build to a big thing with Spike at the end. Obviously, it's kind of an arc. But traditionally, it's like very kind of episodic with Cowboy Bebop. This is there's a ticking clock at play. It's 30 days, and kind of like the way Cowboy Bebop at the end of each episode it said, "See you later, Space Cowboys."
Mm-hmm.
Here it's basically this many days left, like this many days, and it's kind of like it's not like literally like because it's 30 days. So it's not like 30 episodes, so it's like we kind of jump time, like this many days remaining. So there's something really cool about that. So the idea is the government assembles a team of essentially an international team of specialists who are basically a band of misfits. Axel, Chris, Doug, Leland, and Elena on a team, and the team's called Lazarus, and they're tasked with like working together to kind of maybe somewhat of a black opsy kind of. They're not all like weapons experts, right? But they're kind of a black ops kind of capacity to find this Dr. Skinner, who basically they saw him on some security footage, which is why they know they have 30 days before this thing kills everyone.
Mm-hmm.
So it's got great action. The Axel character is he's the closest thing you're going to have the Spike Spiegel. Which again, the problem is I think we need more Axel. We don't have Axel's in there and he's part of the team, but like he shines the most in episode 1. Then he's just kind of like there on the ensemble, and that's kind of where we drift a little bit because we're balancing a lot of things in only 13 episodes. Where I respect that we have like the ticking clock and like it's all feeding into the overall narrative, but with that we do have standalone episodes, and it's kind of like we're balancing character episodes in which we flesh out each character, do something with them, and that's like 5. Well, maybe not 5, like 4 to 5 you count the pilot with Axel. Then we have, kind of our main plot, and, we have stuff like that. So, we kind of like, then we have like, so like maybe like an environmental kind of like episode or here and there. So I don't know. It's, we have like kind of like a commentary on something in the future, like, like kind of a PSA, like where the world might be heading, because the world might be, it's kind of dystopian future thing that the Watanabe like to get into with Cowboy Bebop. They're kind of doing here. And I want to be clear. I'm not judging this thing because a lot of fans online are saying it's not Cowboy Bebop. Look, I know it's not Cowboy Bebop, or it's a very different show. Because why was watch Cowboy Bebop again? But you want something of kind of a quality of Cowboy Bebop. So by comparison, the Cowboy is like the highest bar you could ever set for anything. So it's not fair to compare the two.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it is worth a rewatch, but to me, it feels like a runtime issue. I think we have a lot of good stuff here, but I don't think we have enough time to really explore. I think he's throwing a lot of world building at us, but I don't think we have enough time to process it. That's the problem, where it's good stuff, but it's just because of this, it kind of drags or loses momentum, it kind of lost my interest after a while. And that's not to say it's bad. It's just to say there's so much going on where I'm really focused on that excellent cell, Tiki, of like, we got to find Dr. Skinner. And like, let's see how these guys interact while finding Dr. Skinner.
Sure.
So,
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
All right. The Bear season 4. You and I are going to do a whole spoiler cast on this later this week, so I don't want to talk too much about it. Dragon, I kind of low-key hated The Bear Season 3 outside of the Tina episode. I thought it was just a lot of spinning wheels, spinning plates, if you will.
Yeah.
I gotta tell you, man, I think on a plot level, really not a lot changes. There's a lot of still kind of like characters sort of like, there's not a lot that actually like happens in the plot of the season, but there's a lot of character work in this season. And I gotta tell you, for me personally, the season is so cathartic that it ultimately, I think, might end up being my favorite season of The Bear overall. Which might be a hot take. Because, like, here's the thing. Like, season 1, season 1 is basically like a pressure cooker, right? Season 1 was all about the anxiety of the kitchen. Season 2 was kind of about seeing all the characters at their worst. I still don't think anything tops Fishes. I think Fishes is going to go down as the absolute best episode of the show, in spite of this season kind of having a little bit of a sequel episode to that, which is fantastic in its own right. Season 3 is kind of, the whole point of season 3 is the characters are stuck. They're not going anywhere. The season doesn't go anywhere. And season 4 is about healing, Dragon. And on that level, I really respect what we did here from a storytelling point of view. And there are some moments in this season, a lot of moments in this season, that I think I can only describe as like cathartic and life-affirming. And for me personally, it's just a journey that I was really happy to go on. And honestly, I don't even know if it would have hit as hard if we didn't have that kind of like the characters are just stuck in season 3. I honestly it kind of makes me respect season 3 a little bit more. Because remember, besides the teen episode, the one really good thing we got out of season 3 was we got the the full development of the Joel McHale backstory and then the payoff to that. That was like the one other really big thing that came out of season 3. I love the wedding episode, man. I don't care how corny it is. I don't care if it's unrealistic that all those characters could fit under that damn table.
It was a big table.
That table scene is just fucking art. It's beautiful. It's genuinely like one of the most moving things I have seen in a while when it comes to any sort of TV. And Dragon, by the way, I probably should have brought this up sooner, but like when you communicate with Jacob about the thumbnail for this, is it safe to say we need to get something from that table scene? If not the actual photo itself, I'm not sure if we can find like a good high quality image of the photo itself, but like at the very least, like a shot of all the main characters under the table, if we can find it.
Well, I don't want to promise anything on that, Tiki.
Well, I'm just saying that'd be my preference for a thumbnail.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm glowing about this season. I don't know about you. How do you feel about it?
Yeah, so I love the ticking clock at play with this season. I love we.
Oh my God, Uncle fucking Jimmy has some of the most heartfelt moments in this whole.
I love me some Oliver.
Some of the moments of Uncle Jimmy, dude. Just oh my God, yeah.
So I've always loved Oliver Platt just in general, but I've always loved him in this show, and it's always like a secret weapon that they've kind of had in the show that they've used very well.
Absolutely.
It's now they're building to an end with now. So here's the thing. So season 5 has been approved. They gave.
Has it really? You know what's funny about that, Dragon? I honestly just assumed that this was the finale. I just assumed that that Carmi's choice at the end of this season, like, okay, that's it. Like, there we go. That's the show.
So, Tiki, without getting into anything, given how the season ends, I mean, mind you, look, you could interpret finality for sure, but it'd be a finality of like, we have a lot of hanging chads left of like, you got to see, we want to see, like.
No, you're right. There are like basically episode 10 is kind of like a 3-man show between Carmi, Richie, and Sydney. Yeah. So and we do have a lot of stuff with the other characters. I don't know where.
I'm just saying, like the main. I don't
know where you can go with Carmi in particular after this season.
Well, no, Tika, that's what I'm saying. So here's the thing. So it seems like we're building to an end with season 5 in that I don't think we can go much further than 5 because basically 5 is like the resolution after everything. We've done the healing and now we have to do the resolution is where we leave things in terms of like.
I'm probably going to be like the epilogue. I feel like this season was the resolution.
Well, sure. Okay, sure. Well, what I mean with the epilogue is that we gotta, we have to set Carmi has one last purpose for being there. After the end of episode 10, where there's one last thing he's got to do. So season 5 is going to be that one last thing he's got to do.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I'm saying. That's what 5 is. So 5 is like, okay, we got to set the thing. You got to set the ship right before everyone goes. Everyone kind of sets in for their paths.
Sure.
Now, mind you, the big question I had is like, is there going to be enough story to fill a season 5 versus maybe like 2 more episodes? That's the real question I have. I mean, I could imagine them
movie.
Well, yeah, exactly. They could do a movie, but it's going to be it's going to be season 5. So I mean, who knows? I mean,
I know we can't do the 6 seasons in a movie thing, but we're not going to get to 6 seasons anyways. So just 4 seasons.
Regardless, I mean, we are talking about there's like potential mini franchising that we brought up. So with the mini franchising,
I love that as a solution to the financial stuff, though. I think Ibra has one of the best plots of the season.
Well, again, so we put everyone to task here. They're more evolved than they've ever been because now they're going through this whole healing process and becoming the people they're kind of meant to be by the end of things. It's Walter
has some adorable moments.
That he does. I think like the whole thing with the healing in this season is like, is there life and hope after the traumas that we've all suffered? That's kind of what season 4 kind of puts into that's the big question of 4. Like, can we is there hope for the traumatized?
Uh-huh.
Of the traumas of season 2 and the fishes of it all. Like, how do you walk back from that?
Which I mean, we'll talk about it a lot more in the spoiler cast about this scene in particular. But my God, what Bob Odenkirk fucking brings to this season in one scene,
yeah,
is just tremendous. We'll talk about that.
So I mean, I thought it was a really because I was wondering, the whole like obviously we knew we were going to get kind of like I think doing the whole like to be continued thing at the end of 3 was dumb. Given okay, well certainly there's going to be another one. Why do we have to spell that out? But there's
And like I don't think I think they did a much better job this season with the whole like, oh, is Cindy going to take the job or not? But I think they actually make that like they actually do a good job to like point out why she's having such a hard time making that decision.
well,
In season 3 it was painful though. In season 3 it was just kind of like I don't know. I just don't think they were handling that as well as they could have.
okay, so the restaurant's struggling in a realistic like where do we go? Like, what do you do given like the big bomb that we dropped at the end of 3 that we're going into 4? So I love that in the resolution be like it's the ticking clock. Like that's great. The fact we open on that, like okay, this is exactly what I was looking for. They hit it right off the bat. Like, okay, I'm sold. I'm dialed into where we go from here. I don't know. Like I got to evaluate it, but really for me, it's like the one hang up I have is that maybe there might have been an excess of of Sid focus this season, which obviously pays off. But
Which honestly, I feel like besides just the job offer stuff, I kind of feel like she got a little bit shifted in season 3. So I'm okay with that. I'm okay with her having like that
shafted
episode, for example.
I mean, shafted in season 3, right?
Yeah, my bad. Yeah.
I think so. I think there's maybe some questionable choices like that for me here and there in season 4, but it's a great season, without question. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Next up, we got cold case Tylenol murders. Tell us about it. I won't lie. I have been kind of like interested about this. This has been kind of floating around. So sell me on it.
So I mean, I remember back, like you and I, we remember like hearing about the whole Tylenol fiasco. The whole like, there was like basically cyanide in the Tylenol, or like the deadly chemical in the Tylenol. Someone spiked them.
It got me to switch to Excedrin. I'm not gonna lie. I'm still on Excedrin.
Yeah. So I believe it's like 3 episodes if memory serves. I think if it was like 3 or 4 episodes, I think it's 3. Pretty sure it's 3. Episode 1 is fantastic. Episode 1 is the one you got to like. That recaps it in a very strong way. The best part of episode 1 is where basically in the way we recap the events, we have the terror on the paramedics as they tell like the tale of like just it was one after another again and again.
Oh man, yeah,
and like of all just random targets, and it was just this whole like it was just this crazy like night of like it's just like what is going on. It's very interesting that like the lead suspect, essentially the guy who is very very likely the culprit, is a free man sitting down and talking about it with you. Like that might be the big sell of it. Like you have this very the cold case out here. The frustration I have with this thing is that I think it's good, but it's got 2 knocks against it. One, being a cold case by definition means we don't have a solution. We don't have like a confirmed ending. As in, we don't know it's kind of left up in the air because it was never truly solved. Again, we have a big guy's most likely the culprit, but again, it's not confirmed. I mean, it's still there are other factors that dispel that.
Sure.
So that's a little irksome with the cold case of it all, but you kind of know that going into it. And I mean, it's just I don't know. I think it just doesn't measure up to episode 1. Ultimately, it's not saying like it gets worse, but I don't know. It just didn't feel as like engrossing as episode 1 did as it went on. I think maybe on a rewatch, perhaps, as given our interviews with our lead suspect, maybe it's a little better than I gave it credit for. But it's basically Tylenol likely put out bad product intentionally, or not intentionally, but basically bad product, like knowing that something had been knowing something been tampered with, and that of course because of this is now why we have all the this is why we have the childproof like safety thing on the Tylenols, and we have like that old security stuff in the 90s.
Sure.
So yeah, I mean it's interesting. I'd say it's kind of like I would say it's it's a comfort watch, but it's going to make you uncomfortable.
No, I mean, that's the thing. That's kind of what made me hesitant about it. Is like it sounds really interesting, but I feel like
If I were you, I wouldn't watch it while you're trying to subdue a headache. I'll tell you that much, because you're gonna want to take something, and then of course,
Fully noted.
then the moment you take something, you're gonna be, oh no, what have I done? Oh god, do I need to on speed dial? Oh, what did I do?
All right. Okay, next up for me, we have The Last of Us Season 2, which actually came out last month. I fucked up. I forgot to put it on the list last month, but I do want to talk about it. First of all, Dragon, before I say anything about the actual season itself, can I just say, fuck everybody who is being so vicious about Bella Ramsey.
I heard about some of it. I saw a little bit
Dragon,
of this.
it's fucking disgusting, all right?
Yeah.
Like, I just, like, I don't, like, I honestly, like, I think there are some issues with her performance this season. I'm not even going to beat around the bush with it. There's some issues with the writing of her character. But my God, she's not even fucking 21. You people are basically fucking picking on someone who is still legally a fucking child. You fucking man-children motherfuckers, dude. I don't know what it is about this fan base, Dragon. The same shit happened when The Last of Us Part 2 came out, and there was a character in The Last of Us Part 2. Granted, there's a story reason why the audience is meant to hate the character, but the fan base was like, oh, she's too butch. She's trans. And I'm like, okay, first of all, so what if she is? Second of all, like, my God, like, so you, Dragon, have you seen the fucking Buzz Lightyear memes with Bella Ramsey? Because that's shit that I can't stand.
Well, no, I haven't seen the Buzz Lightyear memes. Here's what I've seen.
They're photoshopping her as Buzz Lightyear. They're photoshopping her as the fucking King of Queens.
Well,
like, okay, the poor girl has a fucking slightly round face. Oh my God. She's not the most conventionally attractive actress in the history of Hollywood. Let's just burn her at the fucking stake over it.
Okay, so here's as far as all the Bella Ramsey stuff goes, as far as I've heard. So I've seen the Kevin James thing. Yeah. Now,
like in a vacuum, that shit is like, you know, like all celebrities, because it's such a public thing, they can be clowned on, but it's just the repetition of this shit. It's just that, like, they will not let it go, man. It's not her fucking fault. Yeah. A lot of the problems with this season, most of the problems with this season are the writers. Do you see Bella Ramsey's name attached to the fucking writing credits?
I mean, look, it's basically it's the Kevin James thing, but in general, with the whole like why she's being dull is like the whole like the whole essentially, I guess, to give it a colorful name, is it's kind of the Mrs. Potato Head effect that she's kind of.
But it's so fucking stupid.
It is, yeah. I think the reason that's happening is just any disappointments that people have in the season. They're basically, especially with from what I understand, like a big plot thing that happens with a certain character.
Which happened in the game too.
Yeah. So that's what. So I think basically, I think it's a lot of it's like gamers. I think a lot of it's just like a lot of people is like kind of video game kind of mentality of like let's dog on this very visual aspect because it doesn't match up to the game, and we're going to use that as an excuse to really just dog on the poor actress. It's like, oh man, that's
they just came out as non-binary. And it's like, okay, you're doing that, like you're dogpiling on them during Pride Month. Like it's that whole thing, Dragon, that whole fucking thing. Anyways, how I feel about the season itself.
Yeah.
I think episode 2 is really good. That's when the event goes down. That's when the big death goes down. And that's handled really well. I think episode 7 is I think 6 or 7, the penultimate one, if it's 6 or 7, I don't quite remember. That is the best episode of the season, one of the best episodes of the whole show. That's the season that has that's the episode that has Tony Dalton in the cameo at the beginning. That episode is absolutely fantastic. I think that episode deals with some of the story issues of the second game, some of the plot structure in a really, really smart way. Basically what it does is it combines all of the flashback stuff that we get kind of throughout the second game and combines it into one episode. I thought that was handled really, really well. Other than that, I'm not going to lie. The season is a goddamn mess, all right? I'm not going to mix words about it. I will defend Bella with all my heart. I think Bella does not fucking deserve what is happening to them. But Craig Mazin, on the other hand, yeah, Craig Mazin's a fucking idiot, and he dropped the ball, and he dropped the ball fucking hard. I don't know, man. Ultimately, Dragon, the problem is that this is a revenge story where Bella Ramsey's character is meant to be brutal. In the second game, she is brutal. She is going around killing off these fucking people who were involved in the death, and, it's totally unapologetic. It's they shave her down. They very much tone down the revenge stuff. A lot of it is just, I'm not gonna lie, I like Isabel Merced too, Dora the Explorer, live action Dora the Explorer. She plays Bella Ramsey's love interest in this, and I'm not gonna lie, Dragon, throughout a lot of their screen time together, it does genuinely feel like it's more of a fucking romantic comedy road movie than a dark revenge story. And that shit is totally goddamn dissonant. I'm not going to mix words on it and say it's not. It absolutely is. But again, do you see Bella Ramsey's name in the fucking writing credits? It's not her fault. I don't know, man. I think the cliffhanger of this season, basically dooms the whole fucking show. Because as smart as they were with one element of how the second game is structured, they are not smart about the way that they had the cliffhanger be and now we're going to see the whole thing from the perspective of the person that killed Joel. Very controversial move in the game, and I don't think it's going to work in the show at all. I don't think people are going to be down with a whole season of Abby. I really don't. I think that was really fucking stupid. I think it killed any momentum the show has. That being said, there are elements here that I still want to see continue. Jeffrey Wright, Dragon. Jeffrey Wright is in this season. He doesn't have much screen time. I've heard from people that have played the games that by all intents and purposes, his character really shouldn't have even been present here. But he does a really good job, man. There's a couple scenes with him that are downright chilling. So if anything else, I'm going to watch season 3 just for Jeffrey Wright. But yeah, I mean, fuck the people that are dogpiling on Bella Ramsey. But at the same time, this is not a good season of television. And this is I think this is going to go down with the likes of Heroes season 2 as far as just infamous drops in quality between the first season and the second season, unfortunately. As much as I do want to defend Bella on a personal level. And I do, obviously. So yeah. All right, that's my soapbox on that. Okay, number 1 on the call sheet, Dragon. What do you got? What is this?
This is a 2-episode docuseries about black actors who have kind of rose to prominence. So the other thing they had also. So Reginald Hudlin, the guy who did he did the Sidney Poitier documentary I raved about a while back on Apple TV Plus, and he also directed Marshall, which we talked about. So that's Reginald Hudlin. So good director, and a lot of he's earned the trust of a lot of accomplished black actors and actresses. And essentially, him and Shola Lynch, I believe. Basically, the way they broke this down is it's 2 episodes, not just randomly. Why couldn't it be a movie? It's 2 episodes because the first part is a black actors, the other part is black actresses. So it's how they separated it. Okay. So kind of give two very different experiences.
Sure.
And I want to say each of them sits down separately. I want to say Hudlin's with the men, Shola's with the women. I can't remember who was with the women. I don't know if Hudlin was just there for both. But the point being, we have all the big names. We're talking, Will Smith, Sam Jackson, Jamie Foxx, and Denzel Washington, so on. So also The Rock. And Kevin Hart. So it's everyone.
Any Jordan Peele out of curiosity? I know.
I know they were with the actors, not. Yeah, he was more director. So
obviously Jordan Peele started out as an actor, but yeah, okay. I was just curious about.
Well, that. You know what I mean. Well, they're going for literally. So the whole point is number 1. It's the leads of the movies. That's the whole idea.
Sure.
Who made the big time. That's the idea. So they talk about Jordan Peele. They talk about for Daniel Kaluuya. He's there.
Not, yeah.
So like everyone, pretty much everyone you can think of is there, and they're talking about kind of. We go through like the history of like for example, we talk about Poitiers, we talk about just kind of like how things have changed in the industry, but also kind of like what I really appreciate about it is kind of like them talking about those first days on set and just kind of like the experience and how it impacted the careers and everything, that kind of thing. So you have fun stories just again about the progression, and on the and also just kind of how like just how literally the roles had changed. It's like you go from being like best friend or a gang member number 5 to being like the guys on the posters and everything.
Uh-huh.
Then the other so with the women with the actress side of the part of the 2 episode thing, it's they're in a even bigger box because you have the whole there's a lot more there's stereotypes within stereotypes a lot of the time that they have like with the black female roles, which already is hard to be number 1 on the call sheet for a black female led movie, which already there's not a lot of that. The thing that both parts have in common is that we're talking about like famous and kind of famous that ultimately turned infamous examples. Like for example, we have Boys in the Hood, which again was great, massive success, but as you can tell, over time, everyone wanted to emulate Boys in the Hood, and it was just kind of like this might not serve a good cause.
Sure.
Then you have The Color Purple, which of course Color Purple was a huge boom. It's pretty much every black woman's favorite movie. And so we kind of run the gambit on that, and it's again, Apple just has a talent for documentaries, and I think this is yet another great example of that. Especially when they tackle them in 2 parts, or they tackle them in the movie form. They've been nailing it. They haven't really done anything beyond 2 parts, so I think they found a groove for it that Netflix should take notes on.
Nice. Okay. All right. So I have Detroiters season 1. This will go by really quick. This is a quick watch. So this was the other Tim Robinson thing on Netflix besides I Think You Should Leave. I definitely think I Think You Should Leave is more memorable. Like I Think You Should Leave. I binged the hell out of that thing. That was like one of the quickest binges I've ever had. This is it's a Lori production, Dragon. It's a Lori sitcom, so it is what it is in that regard. But Tim Robinson, man, I'm sorry, but like between Friendship and then I Think You Should Leave, I'm really kind of like in a Tim Robinson mindset right now when it comes to comedy. So basically the premise of this thing is that it's 2 characters who are they're basically like ad men. They're not ad executives. They just own they own an advertising agency in Detroit. And the fun gag with the characters though is that Tim Robinson's character is dating the other lead character's sister, and yet Tim Robinson and the other lead character, they have like such a big chemistry with each other, and it's just like it's a bromance for the ages, and the show in its humor definitely plays up kind of like the homoeroticism of that without going like full blown like sexual with it. And so that's where a lot of the humor comes from, just how close these 2 guys are with each other, even though they're technically like brother-in-laws. I think there's a lot of comedy to be mined from that. Let's see, there's some really funny cameos here. Keegan Michael Key pops up in a not a cameo, in a basically like a 1 episode role where he's really funny. Every episode kind of has them dealing with a different client who's wanting to get a commercial off the ground with them. The gag is that like their ideas for commercials are generally speaking pretty terrible, but somehow it always comes together and forms a commercial that actually works out well for the business. Not all the time. There's definitely moments. There's definitely episodes where the commercial like screws over the business. But generally speaking, that's kind of the gag, is that they're dealing with this commercial. The commercial seems like it's going to be awful, and it turns out to actually be a legitimately pretty good commercial. So it's a fun, watchable show. I think the 2 leads have really, really good chemistry with each other. I think that Tim Robinson's just screen presence is just fantastic across the board. So yeah, it's a fun little show. I definitely there's another season of it which I intend to watch. All right. Okay, and finally, Dragon. I was honestly, Dragon, I'm glad you watched these train wreck things because I'm a fan of them. I just wasn't sure where to put them as far as memoirs go. So I think it makes sense that when they come out, we'll just kind of like cover them individually. And if multiple ones come out in a month, or if we see multiple ones in a month, we'll just group them together. But yeah, I've been curious about both of these. So go ahead and lay them out.
Yeah, I think there were like three. I wasn't able to get to the third one, but yeah, I had.
There was a third one that came out. Yeah.
Yeah. The Astro World, I believe, was the third one.
Uh-huh.
Anyway, so I watched Trainwreck. I had
Astro World. That's one I'm super interested in because I've been like morbidly fascinated by that whole thing for a long time. I mean, obviously, what happened there was a tragedy, but it's how preventable that thing was is just. Anyways, I'm definitely gonna invest in that.
Okay, so the two that I did watch was Mayor of Mayhem. This is about Rob Ford. He is basically the crazy mayor of Toronto, Canada. Which, by the way, July 1st, Happy Canada Day.
Nice.
It's not July 1st now, but it was 2 days ago.
Uh-huh.
All right, so basically, this guy he looks exactly like Brian Dennehy and Tommy Boy. He looks so much like Brian Dennehy, like Tommy's dad, and he's just this big.
Who are you? I'm Brian Dennehy. What? No, not fucking Brian Dennehy. Dude, get the fuck out of here. South Park, I couldn't resist.
Okay. Okay, but seriously, guys, like a dead ringer for Brian Dennehy. You know, he's a working class guy. The idea is this guy really like, you know, he earned the public vote. Like he seemingly was like one of the good, like a kind of an honest politician, like a guy you would vote for. But let me put it this way. It's kind of like, what if you took a guy who looked like Brian Dennehy, but he also had a very Peter Griffin vibe to him? Like very Peter Griffin. In terms of this guy, you know, he would run his mouth. He would just be that that direct. Didn't play the political game that well at all, and he got involved in a scandal, which in essence involved him smoking crack.
Yep. Okay.
Which it was already just kind of a sell. Like, okay, well, that's I want to see what happened there, and it's just interesting to see how this wacky guy just kind of dealt with that scandal, just trying like, you know, it's kind of like a one-off sort of thing, but then things spiraled, and you know, it's just you kind of have to see it to believe it.
Nice, interesting.
All right, so here's the one I was really looking forward to this month.
I'm not gonna lie, I'm kind of dreading this one. This one I feel like might get under my skin a little bit.
Okay, this is actually was awesome, Tiki.
Okay,
so you gotta watch Poop Cruise. So let me tell you about Poop Cruise. So this was it's basically like a condensed version of the Fire Fest. That's kind of what it's kind of what it is in terms of this. It's kind of a so you have this. So everyone's it's kind of it's kind of a combination of Firefest. It's a condensed version of Firefest meets the whole like that crisis when that cruise ship got kind of quarantined during the pandemic. You remember that, don't you?
Right. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
So imagine if you kind of combine those two things, and it was real. And that's essentially what this was. So in 2013, way before a pandemic, so it's not that. Way before the pandemic, had Carnival Cruise Lines. They had a bunch of happy vacationers, and the way they frame in the documentary is like, you know, everyone's like, you have like you check in with like a few groups and like saying, here's what their agendas were on the trip. Like one guy wants to impress his future father-in-law. He's just proposed to his girlfriend. He wants to make a good impression on the old father-in-law.
Uh-huh.
And you know, we have like a father and daughter reconnecting, and I think maybe there's like a bunch of bridesmaids or something who are like on a vacation, like on the way to a wedding or something.
Oh dear. This
so you have
like set up to a season of the White Lotus.
So it's just really. So I love that we had like these little like we kind of check in with these people, and that like they're the ones giving like the ground, and also you have like a few members of the crew who are like, and also the one I think you'd have like the cook on the boat, you know, on the cruise, who's like, everyone's just kind of like telling about their experiences. They recount the horrors that they encountered. So one night, so they're on the cruise, like day one, day two, everything's going great. Now it's like a cruise. So do you remember how long cruises traditionally are?
Honestly, I think they could range anywhere from like a couple days to a couple weeks.
Honestly. I want to say, let's say it's either 2 weeks or a minimum a week. Let's say probably most likely 2 weeks or what have you. You know, to and from, maybe, I don't know, but let's just say there's like the appointment's good. It's a voyage, so day 2 of the voyage things are going great, but then night of day 2, the engine catches fire. So they put the fire out, that goes, but there is an electrical problem. So the boat essentially is kind of stranded. Well, I shouldn't say so. Not stranded, but the boat's still running, but the problem is like all the electricity on the boat, essentially for like the passengers and everything, it's not working. The lights are out, and more specifically, apparently their electricity runs to the plumbing.
Oh boy!
So the toilets will not flush. Toilets can't flush.
Oh god!
So this creates a problem. So again, the plan is okay. We're gonna we'll get some help, and we'll get everyone situated, or we'll get the power back on in like a day, maybe 2 tops. That's what they quote everyone. Say, okay, guys, it's gonna be a day, 2 tops. In the interim, we suggest me using the showers for number 1. For number 2, solution. The interim solution was they gave everyone kind of like these little red hazmat bags. So
oh my god! Oh no!
So anyway, so they have here's like an adorable side story. So in the documentary, like the poor guy is trying to impress his father-in-law. He's determined. Okay, it's like 2 days. I can withhold for 2 days.
Oh god!
I am determined not to use. I'm determined not to use the red baggie.
Oh, man.
So that's his arc. That's his story in this. Anyway, so it's a heck of a sell. I don't want to spoil how things turn. There's this epic moment of storytelling. Okay, it's amazing. Where I don't want to tell you what happens. Let's just say salvation arrives, but when it arrives, there's a catch, and the moment, and you'll have that oh my god moment when it happens. It's like it's just because it makes all the sense in the world, but you didn't think of it. And oh boy, things. Well, let's just say it hits the fan.
You have to go in the ocean and do like an aqua dump.
Well, I don't think it's safe if they do that.
Fun fact, Dragon, that is how they deal with it on Survivor.
Also, I don't know if that's good for the environment or not.
Probably not.
That's the thing. So I mean, yeah. Well, there's also they kind of address that. They address for number 1, the fear was, well, in theory they could just go off the side of the ship, but the problem is where the lady's going to do. It's a cruise ship, and they perch. They're going to fall.
Right.
You don't want that to happen, so that's why the showers became. But anyway, so I gross out as it sounds, I assure you, this is a riveting tale.
Okay, I'll have to give it a watch.
Yep, it's hard, but it's also got bathroom humor, so it's kind of a great combination in a sense from a documentary standpoint.
Nice. Okay, Dragon. So let's quickly go through catch up. I'm going to be shocked if your mystery movie isn't what I think it is.
Well, you know what it
Of course I know what it is.
Okay, so my mystery movie is, at long last, The Day the Earth Blew Up, a Looney Tunes movie.
Huzzah!
Yeah. So, what a tangled web we weave, Tiki. So Warner Brothers makes a Looney Tunes movie. They refuse to distribute it. They end up selling it to Catch Up Entertainment. And lo and behold, it's on Max again anyway. So literally, they went through all this trouble and all the sales. Like literally, the movie made a profit of like $0.1 million, and all of it just to end up back on Max again.
To quote Daniel Craig, it's just dumb.
It's just dumb. But on the bright side, though, we held off on this. On the bright side, with the 0.1%, the 0.1 million success in this, at least secured, Coyote versus Acme, which is going to get presumably get the same treatment. So it is going to, be released theatrically. Hopefully, I imagine out of spite, everyone will see Coyote versus Acme in theaters more than it would have just naturally. I think it probably would have gotten a release kind of like it had here, which sadly wasn't marketed because it's not in the budget. and probably get, because it already has had all the internet marketing already. So when that movie gets released, I'm convinced people are gonna flock to see that, just to spite Warner
I hope
Brothers.
so, man. I
And
hope.
they should. They absolutely, this should happen. John Cena's, I'm sure, and Will Forte. They promised that they're going to promote the heck out of it. So I can't wait for that to happen. That's going to be great egg on Zaslav's face, and I'm going to be. I just want like a whole cart. I want to do like the whole Vincent Price egghead thing. I just want to chuck eggs at this guy. Just it's like this is for you, Zaslav. And by the way, he's trying to kill Courage the Cowardly Dog.
Oh God.
No joke, like one of the last vestiges of Cartoon Network that's on Max right now. It says last chance, so it's gonna be gone.
Not surprised. Not fucking surprised.
So anyway, so rant aside there. Yeah, Peter Brengart, animation journeyman. He loves early Looney Tunes, and yeah, he's worked on a lot of shows, animated shows. He a lot of reverence for Tex Avery, Bob Clampett, which really comes through in the animation style here. This was, the classic pair of Porky Pig, Daffy Duck. Which, of course, me coming off of my binge of Duck Dodgers, I'm very much, I was preparing for this, as you can probably imagine.
Uh-huh.
And yeah, I love that we kind of take the classic, Looney Tunes pairing there that is not, Bugs and Daffy. And, we added some pathos in there, which, it wasn't really, you don't expect
Yeah.
with these two. There was some genuine pathos thanks to Farmer Jim.
Okay, I gotta know what you think of Farmer Jim. I hyped Farmer Jim the fuck up. Did I hype him up too much?
I mean, look, based on what you told me, I suspect that okay, Farmer Jim is going to be really funny.
Uh-huh.
Uh, I don't think you overhyped. I think you hyped him maybe just the right amount. Maybe.
Okay.
Here's the thing. So Farmer Jim,
Reagan, I cannot get over the rotoscope gag. I cannot get over the fact that, like, his animation is so fucking cheap until it's not, until it fucking means something. That to me is just, it's such good fucking comedy.
it's such an amazing and absurd idea that I want to emphasize can only work with this era of Looney Tunes that they selected. And that's what I like about it. That's why I think Farmer Jim works the way he does. Where again, ordinarily Farmer Jim is like you'd be looking at him like an eye chart. Like, what am I looking at? But again, we're going. This is again. Remember, this is the era of Looney Tunes that inspired John Kay in terms of like the Ren and Stimpy kind of stuff that we would see, in which this is kind of in party to, in terms of like going from like the rotoscoping and just kind of like the painted, like he's like a paper figure when he walks to the curb, that kind of thing. So again, it could only work here, and I really appreciate that. That just shows that the director on this, he loves the old Looney Tunes. He loves.
Oh yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Now, mind you, Tex Avery, of course, like he perfected the cart. He was like the definitive like cartoony kind of like exaggerated style. Bob Clampett, though, that's again, Bob Clampett was never my go-to Looney Tunes guy, but I respect the heck out of like going for the old school design elements there. Like to me, definitive Looney Tunes is Chuck Jones. But everyone has and some people might say Friz Freeling. There's a lot of great variety of Looney Tunes to pick from.
Uh-huh.
Anyway, so here's the one thing that weirded me out in the movie. Okay, I know you're saying the one thing, Farmer Jim, but no, it's not. It's Petunia Pig. It's so weird, given that usually, at least every time I think of Petunia Pig, I've seen her be Porky Pig's daughter.
Well, I don't.
I'm not holding it against the movie. I'm just
pretty obscure character, like either way. So
no, I'm not saying it's like a problem with the movie or anything. I'm just saying it's like a meat. Every time I think like, oh yeah, like Petunia Pig was like, it was like his daughter in like in the Christmas Carol parody. It just feels like,
yeah,
it's like, wow, that's a swing there, but okay, let's go with it. They grew up on a farm. Let's see how it goes.
Right.
But no, it was again, overall, movie was great. Lived up to the hype. Peter Manicle was a lot of fun. The one thing I questioned though, and I know obviously we had like the Looney Tunes show, so I can't really stand on ceremony with this, but it is weird when we just. It's not bad, but it's just weird when we do like a lot of the modern humor with the Looney Tunes, like.
Yeah, no, there's some stuff. I think they course correct for the most part. Like, there's one gag about Daffy, like, like, oh, we can go viral, but then of course it blows up in their faces. Like, I think when they do make the modern jokes, I feel like at the very least they're self-aware about the fact that the modern jokes don't really work. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man, that's the thing. It's a double-edged sword. On one hand, it's like I don't need that. I don't need Daffy Duck twerking. I don't need that in my life. But
Like I said, I feel like the movie is very like they literally lose all their followers because of that. Like that's kind of the joke.
yeah. So that's what I'm saying. By that logic, it's self-aware enough that it works, but it's kind of like it's still like why bother? But it's still it's
Right.
funny. The joke I want to say the modern jokes what like that because of how it's executed. It is funny, but still it's like it's stuff we're attaching. It might be cuttable.
I feel you. I feel you.
Also, like the whole like he wants boba. It's like, well, there's no way to cut that.
The boba thing, I agree. That was to me probably the weakest joke in the movie. I really didn't think that joke landed.
Yeah, again, I'm not saying we can't do modern with Looney Tunes because clearly that Looney Tunes show set them in the modern era. It just feels like with a very
I also
old...
like with that villain. I like how intimidating he was at first glance, and I didn't like how as the movie went on, they kind of just made him like literally like a one joke character. Like that to me was a little bit of a disappointment.
Yeah.
But
To be fair, it is a very Looney Tunes payoff that he was doing all that to save them from the.
it is a Looney Tunes payoff for sure, for sure.
Yeah, I mean it's a heck of it's a fun it's fun that we kind of were doing a lot of sci-fi parodies, and I did not see that twist coming
I
specifically.
really like the design of all the human characters, not just Farmer Jim. I obviously Farmer Jim is the highlight, but like I love the design of the scientist. I love the design of like the home inspector lady. Like to me, that kind of calls back to like classic like like Cats Don't Dance, Iron Giant, like the Cartoon Network theater days. That's what this whole movie reminds me of, Dragon. This whole movie feels like something that would play on Cartoon Network theater back then.
No, for sure, yeah. So I mean, that's the thing like, with the modern stuff. I was getting is that it feels like if we're gonna be really going with like the older designs, it feels like probably plus given the story, it could very easily be a period setting or like a
Sure,
nondescript kind of
yeah.
like like the Peanuts logic. The Peanuts don't have smartphones. Like that's the goal. That's the golden
Oh my
rule.
god, thank God the Peanuts movie did not go that route, dude.
Well, I think even like again, even today, still in like the Apple like Snoopy stuff and everything. Like again, still they're playing by the rules. Like no phones.
The day the Peanuts get smartphones is the day that franchise is dead.
Oh wow, yeah, it's bad.
I'm saying like pretty definitively. I think that's the case.
Yep. Anyway, so I will say it's my favorite part of the movie. Honestly, like, but I know there's a lot of good parts of the movie. But the one that I think one of my favorite, deep cut kind of like Looney Tunes things they did in glorious fashion was push the button and pull the crank. Just the whole like the fact they took like the classic Looney Tunes.
Oh yeah, that montage. Yeah.
They turned into this glorious montage of one big band, and it was oh my god, it was great.
Mm-hmm.
So overall, just again, pretty awesome. Look, I don't know if it's the best of the Looney Tunes I've ever seen, but it's for what they're doing, for like the era in which they're representing. I think it's pitch perfect tribute to that era of Looney Tunes.
Sure. Okay, Lilo and Stitch. Not going to spend much time on this at all. It's a perfectly harmless little movie. Dragon, I kind of feel the same way about this movie that I felt about the Aladdin remake, in that this movie basically feels like something that would have been on The Wonderful World of Disney on Sunday nights back in the day. It essentially feels like a TV movie, for better or for worse. I will say the cast, for the most part, plays it well. I think the young actress playing Lilo, she has a different energy than the animated Lilo, but I think she's just as sympathetic. I actually think Courtney B. Vance, like, they definitely change up Cobra Bubbles as a character, but I think Courtney B. Vance does a really good job embodying that character. Dragon's Zach Galifianakis is Jumba is genuinely awful casting, all right? Like, he does not fit that role at all. And honestly, like, how we do the Jumba and Pleakley thing, where instead of like them being aliens in disguise, they just turn into humans.
Yeah.
Every time we cut to Jumba and Pleakley in human form, which is a lot in this movie, I swear to God, Dragon, this movie has such Disney Channel original movie vibes. I'm not sure if that's a good thing or a bad thing. It feels so much like a Disney Channel original movie, specifically with the human Jumba and Pleakley stuff. But I don't know, there's good stuff. Like, at the end of the day, it's a watchable enough movie. Honestly, like, I'm not crazy about the controversial change that they have to the ending, but they ultimately make that change be Lilo's choice. Lilo's the one that nudges Nani in that direction, and because of that, I'm okay with it, I guess. It doesn't piss me off in the same way that I thought I would. I'm still not crazy about it. One of the big things I have against this movie, though, is Stitch, honestly. I think that, like, we should just give credit where credit's due. Like, the Toothless and How to Train Your Dragon. Like, that character, I think the design of it maybe is a little bit too animated and expressive compared to the designs of the other dragons in that movie, and that's a little bit of a nitpick. But that character still very much feels like an animal. It very much feels like it's got, like it's got qualities of a cat, qualities of a dog. Dragon, this Stitch, he's just a little guy. Like, there's barely any dog to the Stitch. He's just a little funny little blue man. And I do not like that. I do not like the way he's animated. Frankly, I think that Chris Sanders' voice is a little aged, and it's pretty noticeable. So I did not vibe with Stitch. Lilo is good. Like, she's not as potent as the animated movie. I don't think she's autism coded in the same way the animated Lilo is. But she's good. She's sympathetic. I don't know. Again, like Myrtle Edmonds, she's technically in the movie, but like not really. Like, she does not have a prominent role at all. So ultimately, it's just kind of a harmless little movie. Although it's not harmless because, like, in the grand scheme of things, I feel like we have this movie to blame for, like, when Snow White flopped, Disney was like, you know what? Maybe we'll backpedal on the Tangled live action remake. And after this movie, I'm sure it's like, never mind. What else can we remake? But other than that, just in a bottle, it's a perfectly harmless little movie. It's like a little, like, 6 out of 10. Like, it's good enough for what it is. It didn't really offend me. I had a good enough time watching it. I will never watch it again, probably. So that's all there is to that.
Yeah, I saw a few clips from the movie, like some leaked stuff of, like, of the Jumba scenes. And, it's like Galifianakis. When I heard him announced initially, I initially thought it was like for Pleakley, which, okay, him as Pleakley makes a lot of sense. But him as Jumba, and he's not even going to do a play. Not the Galifianakis could have
the accent at all.
I think Galifianakis, in theory, look. Well, again, he's tailor made for Pleakley. He could have the range for Jumba if he, did the accent, but again, it's not remotely,
Yeah.
And that's the thing. You know who I wanted for Jumba?
Who?
Stefan Kapusek.
Oh, of course. Oh man, he would have killed it. He
would have been like the most. That's the only. No joke. The only way you measure up to a David Ogden Stiers in terms of like a performance that's funny. It's if it has a lot of Russian in it, but also has like a softness and an arc. Stefan Kapusek.
There we go. Man. All right, so Dragon, De Niro plays De Niro. How was the Alto Knights? Is it as big of a train wreck as I heard it was?
I mean, first of all, De Niro plays against De Niro. Not De Niro. De Niro's not playing himself.
No, you're right. You're right. I worded that weirdly. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah, so this is Barry Levinson. So wait, you did see the Alto Knights, right?
No, I did not.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, you're right. You trash talked without seeing it. Right. Okay. So so the Alto Knights. Barry Levinson basically doing a gangster movie, doing a mob movie. It's basically the messy end of the mob with Frank Costello and Vito Genovese. They're both played by De Niro. Let me tell you how this movie feels. So I watch this very much out of a curiosity. I love De Niro. My grandfather always he worshipped De Niro. He loved him, and this kind of stuff. Plus, he loves like the history of the mob and stuff like that. But mainly through Scorsese's films. He
I could
loves
see you
Scorsese's.
watching this movie just in memory of your grandpa, if anything else.
Exactly. I mean, I always have a soft spot for De Niro because he was like my grandpa's favorite act. He adored De Niro. So I've always because of that, and it's the fact that it's not Scorsese obviously, but it seems like very much made to like kind of like it's kind of Scorsese adjacent or made in the spirit trying to be a Scorsese film. So I was wondering how it would measure up. So Levinson, it very much feels like kind of that. It's Levinson trying to make a Scorsese film, but it feels like it really, honestly, watching the movie, it really feels like the intent should have been, or maybe at some point was like, if they could have gotten the stars to align, would have been De Niro, probably as Frank Costello, going up against Joe Pesci as Vito Genovese. It really feels like it should have been
totally, yeah.
Because if you watch the movie and you look at, so it's kind of De Niro playing two roles, which again feels more like a gimmick or like kind of a weird, like, okay, well, we don't have Pesci. What's the next best thing? Well, De Niro doing an impression of Pesci, which is kind of what it feels
like. Pacino.
Well, yes. Okay. Well, there's two problems with that. One, it's basically remaking The Irishman again, which I know is kind of like doesn't really it's. There's that, and there's the whole thing of like character-wise. Again, you have basically like kind of the old wizened mobster, and you have the kind of the temperamental, almost kind of Sopranos-esque mobster. That's kind of what you have going on here. And I don't know. It just feels like the one just being the de-aging effects probably were expensive as well. So I think you can only afford the de-age one. But I mean, I think Pacino is more of a radical de-age than De Niro for what they were doing in the movie. Crazy as that sounds, I know. The point being, it really feels like this movie was in some. I can't verify this, but it really just the way it plays and how De Niro is playing the Vito Genovese, who's like the more hot-headed, slightly younger one. Which again, it feels like a very pointless de-age, by the way, because it's an older man. He's just he's more of like maybe he's like 50 and Costello's like I don't know like 60 or maybe like well, again closer where De Niro now is like he's 80, but let's say he's probably like in his late 70s in terms of where Costello was in the movie or something. I don't know. The point being, there's an age gap, but it's not a big age. Not one feels like one you could maybe get away with like practical makeup or string or like whatever they did with Paul Rubens and and Pee-wee's Big Holiday even but anyway again, it just really feels like maybe a full circle tribute to Casino and Goodfellas and their dynamic in those movies was the intent. Specifically Casino, which is those two characters at odds. And that's kind of what this movie is. These two mobsters who were friends who grew up together, who were at odds. It feels very much like Levinson trying to remake Casino, using some Irishman technology. That's kind of what it feels like. But I love the old wizened mob boss that De Niro's playing. I love how he plays Frank Costello. How again the other one is just more of like a Pesci impression, which is just a weird choice. It's kind of funny, but it's just kind of a weird choice.
That's funny.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. It's kind of I wouldn't say rush out to watch it, but I mean I think it's worth a watch if you have a lot of time to kill, like maybe a plane movie or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
The thing I really liked was like the state trooper bus, which is a real thing that happened with the mob, and I think they replicated really well. And I thought it was really funny because the movie analyzed this references this event with the mob at the top of that movie, which De Niro was also in. So that was funny. Anyway,
all right, okay. The Minecraft movie. I'm sorry, Dragon. You have a typo here. It's not the Minecraft movie. It's a Minecraft movie. All right. Oh God, Koki. Yes, I just yeah. Joker 2, sure. Dragon. I watched this movie when I was sick last week, and I had like a fever high, and that was an experience.
Oh boy.
This movie sucks, but at the same time, it's really fun. Like, I'll say this: Jack Black and Jason Momoa, Dragon, those two are having a fucking ball in this movie. I know next to nothing about the games. All right, if I was born 10 years later than I was, then I would be into Minecraft the same way I actually was into Roller Coaster Tycoon. But unfortunately, by the time Minecraft came out, I was already a grown-ass adult. I did not have time to just sit around and, like, make sandbox worlds all day. I think it's a really cool creative tool from what I've seen of it. Like, I've seen people do like full scale like recreations of Walt Disney World and stuff in Minecraft. Like, I think it is cool. But I know nothing about the lore or anything. Jason Momoa and Jack Black, though, they are hamming it the fuck up. They are having a ball in this movie, and I was with it. I was with it just for that. The plot in this movie, messy as hell. I had no idea what was going on. Like, Jack Black is just yelling Minecraft references. You know, we have chicken jockey. Even after watching this movie, Dragon, I don't know what the fuck a chicken jockey is, and I saw the chicken jockey. I still don't know what it means. Also, Jennifer Coolidge, they're going to do a Minecraft sequel. I'm sure they will, because this movie is still the highest grossing movie of the year. Jennifer Coolidge needs to have like way more screen time. Like, she needs to be involved in the actual, like, the full story. She needs to go to the Minecraft world, because the whole thing with her character is that she, like, one of the Minecraft, like, I think they're called villagers. I'm not sure exactly. Again, I know next to nothing about the lore, but one of the Minecraft villager characters kind of like ends up in the real world. She hits it with her car, and it turns into a love story for the ages, Dragon. And she only has maybe 10 minutes of screen time, probably even less than that. But every time they cut back to her, it's a fucking delight. It's like, God bless that woman. That woman can make anything funny. So this is not a good movie by any stretch of the imagination. I'm sure if I wasn't sick and like halfway delirious with a fever, I probably wouldn't have enjoyed it. But I was delirious with a fever, so I had kind of a ball with this thing. But don't take that as it being a good movie, though. All right. Okay, and also, Dragon, I'm kind of veered towards my cutoff. So,
great. Just great. Yeah. Okay. Dogman. So Dogman, DreamWorks' second Dave Pilkey adaptation. It's kind of in universe, because I believe the logic is that George and Harold, they made the Dogman comic within the universe of Captain Underpants.
That is the logic, yes.
Yeah, so I love the trailer for this. I wanted to see this in theaters, but I wasn't able to. So I was definitely looking forward to the streaming on this. Movie was delightful, was entertaining. It's impressive that we have a silent protagonist in Dogman, essentially. Petey the cat, a lot of laughs. Pete Davidson did pretty good. There's like a sweet father-son story with
there is, yeah.
Petey the cat, in the form of a via this whole mini-me kind of idea. It's insanely cute and It's an insanely cute and charming movie. It feels like a good one and done too. It feels just kind of like, it feels nice and simple. It feels like, I don't think we have much more to say with Dogman. I think we just kind of did a nice little tribute to him. And also Peter Hastings did this, and Peter Hastings did the Captain Underpants, 2D show that basically was kind of a spin-off from the movie. So it, he did good. He's got a good vibe on how to do Pilkey.
One of the things I really enjoy about this movie is that I really love how committed the style is to being something that literally like kids drew in their notebook.
Yeah,
like not the whole movie. I think stylistically, it's just really cool.
Oh yeah.
So, all right, cool. Okay, next up for me, last one. This is going to go by pretty quick. Train to Busan. This is one of those foreign films, with subtitles. Dragon. It's been on my list for a while, and I watched it, and I enjoyed it. But sometimes I will come upon this. Like I came upon this with what was that movie? I think In the Mood for Love. It's called. Yeah. From a few months ago, where it's like Train to Busan, like people cite this movie a lot as like being one of the definitive zombie movies. So I saw 28 years later, and I was in the mood for another zombie movie, and this delivered that. Essentially, the sell of this movie, Dragon, is that the zombie apocalypse is breaking out, and we follow a train. And we follow what happens if the zombie apocalypse gets its way onto a train. It's it's that. It certainly is that. I think the movie. I mean, the characters are all right. The characters are fleshed out enough. Um, it's more of an action movie than a horror movie, which I don't really buy. Like, because honestly, like with something, I feel like you could have done like a really good like claustrophobic horror movie with a premise like that, and I don't really think they take advantage of the close quarters as much as they should have. But it's stylistic. The zombies are well realized. The premise is executed well. I don't think this is going to stick with me all that much, which is kind of a shame because this is kind of known as like a modern classic. But I'm glad I watched it. So, no complaints there. It's a solid like 7 out of 10 movie for me. That's about it.
Let me tell you about Selena Gomez, My Mind and Me.
All right.
So this was an Apple TV documentary. It's it's all right. I expect a little bit more from it, but I kind of here's the my hope was that this was going to be about kind of the struggle she was dealing with while doing Only Murders in the Building. The problem is, I realized it's too late that oh wait, this is right before she did that.
Ooh.
So basically, this is still Selena Gomez, the pop star and everything. So this is it's basically how lupus, because she's afflicted with lupus, which is a whole. It's not a nice way to live. I'll tell you that much. It's how it's kind of weighed on her, and had to give her like a lot of anxiety and other struggles and a lot of health problems. And basically the stuff she was dealing with before she, things kind of like the silver lining with kind of her resurgence with Only Murders and everything. It could have been a little tighter narratively. But I mean, it was interesting. I think we like Selena Gomez based on that show. It's like,
oh yeah, definitely.
Plus, like her in Hotel Transylvania and stuff. I mean, she's a nice girl. She's a nice girl, Tiki.
Honestly, Dragon, she is kind of like a very if you were to cast her in Bates Motel, she would fit right into that nice girl archetype.
Absolutely.
Really
so I think she's very nice to fans, as we see when she interacts. She's kind of cheering up sick people and stuff like that, which is nice. She's exposing a lot of vulnerability. Just got to be honest. It just kind of after a while, I think there was a big momentum drop. It's not like a doc I was really I wouldn't write home about.
Uh-huh. Okay. All right. Well, you got one more. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Right. Love hurts.
Love hurts. This movie hurts, from what I've heard.
Yeah, so Love Hurts. This is the Ke Huy Quan action movie. It's very Nobody-esque. The Odenkirk movie, Nobody. Here's the thing. I'll tell you what. Here's what I really enjoyed about this movie. Okay, so you can see, one, he is wonderful in this movie. He really is. Ke Huy Quan's wonderful in this movie, and I think the main reason is, and you can see it throughout the performance, that he's living his childhood dream that we know from the behind the scenes of Temple of Doom. He always wanted to be in a Jackie Chan movie, and this is kind of like Ke Huy Quan living out his childhood dream of like being in a Jackie Chan movie of sorts, like a violent Jackie Chan movie, but still a Jackie Chan, kind of an action fair kind of a thing, where he's and I don't know, I'm just throwing around, it's because he's fighting, but no, it's like initially it's very defensive, reactionary. Jackie Chan.
He's got a kind of like a little bit of a Jackie Chan vibe to him too when it comes to the humor.
So that's the thing. Like the opening humor of the movie is he's a real estate guy who's basically trying to downplay that part of his life, kind of like Hutch and Nobody. But he's very smiley, very nice, and so because of that, he's fighting non-lethally at first. It's very reactionary to these brutal attacks. So again, kind of like Jackie Chan, defensive kind of style of martial arts, kind of a thing. A little bit. So look, here's the problem. Okay, so he's great. That element's great. Plot's not great, I'm afraid. The fighting is. The plot, not so much. Sean Astin has a lovely cameo in the movie, a very heartwarming cameo. There's two heartwarming.
That's nice.
He has two very heartwarming scenes in the movie that are very good, very nice. About him giving him a chance and turning his life around, and how he genuinely loves it. It's very much you can feel like the warm, gooey Goonies center
totally.
there, They hammer in the love story elements of the movie, though.
That's
It's a
what I've
little.
heard. I've heard that this movie would be a lot better if the love story stuff just. And by the way, poor Adriana DeBow, man. Oh my God, that poor woman must have one of the biggest like falls from grace post Oscar.
Yeah, she seems like such a nice girl too. She just can't.
She needs to get a new agent. That's all I can say.
Yeah, it'll be the 100th Disney film. Really? Don't you want to be in the 100th Disney film? Well, it is that's a big number. Literally, the credits will be full of all the films that led to you.
Oh my God.
Don't you get it? You're gonna be the star. Literally, you're the star. Anyway. So it's like, for example, it's like that's set on Valentine's Day, and like his assistant. Here's the BS I call it. His assistant kind of falls in love with like one of the people that initially tried to kill him, and it's like I call complete BS on that. That is the dumbest logic. She quits her job, and this like it's all like I fall in love with you. Just met him and you read his poetry, and that's why you're falling for him. It's stupid.
Oh, that's dumb. Yeah.
So yeah, it's not great. I'm not heartbroken that I didn't see it in theaters. It's again, he's great in it though. I just feel bad, like kind of like again, it's watchable. It's not remotely deep. It pales in comparison to something like Nobody.
Sure.
I'd say just watch it for Kui Kui Kwan. That's the only reason to watch it.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Okay, best and worst, really quick, Dragon. What do you got?
Best is kind of tied between Elio and the DreamWorks documentary, shooting for the moon. Worst, I mean, look, I feel bad. Like I kind of want to say the Selena Gomez documentary. Selena Gomez, My Mind and Me, but again, Love Hurts is really weak in the story department, so they're kind of tied for that one.
Yeah. All right, for me, it's pretty clear cut for me. Best, Life of Chuck. Worst, Mithrigan 2.0. Okay. Pretty cut and dry there. All right. Well, also big thanks to Co Gios, Keeper Colby, aka Peregron, and Eli of Little Blue Productions for joining us in the chat. We appreciate y'all as always. All right. Well, folks, we have waxed on long enough. And now it's time to put the pen down. Until next time, we'll return for another fitting chapter in our
movie memoirs.
Who is DG again?